Hi, and welcome to Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and today I am here with witch, herbalist, and drag queen Justify, aka Innoxia Nyghtshade, who can be found at Justify Juju's IG and Justify Juju's.com and is on Satyrs and Sinners podcast on Spotify. How you doing today, sexy?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you, gorgeous?
I'm good.
Yay. Sweet.
Good. Awesome.
Mm.
So, yeah, believe me, you'll see me. I'll like fix my hair the whole fucking time.
It's okay. we I love a little hair, a little tussle. Yes.
Definitely. So, where are you originally from?
I am actually born and raised in, surprisingly, it's kind of like what they would say, like a unicorn, born and raised in Orlando, Florida. Winter
Wow.
Park Hospital. My blood type is B. I'm just kidding. Goes to the whole, my natal chart is, I'm just kidding. Yeah, but no, Orlando, Florida.
Work, because yeah, I know that from like living there that not many people are like born and like live in Orlando. Orlando's like the city you go to. I would say in Florida when you want to go to a different city that's different from your small town, but you don't want to live in Miami.
True. Yeah, like, or and especially because Orlando is so transient, like, the airport, I'm like live close to the airport. Where I actually live right now, like it's 10 minutes from downtown, and then from there it's like the other direction, you're going towards like Universal Studios, SeaWorld, like, so it's
Yeah.
very, for those that aren't familiar or don't have never been to Florida. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like Orlando is the touristy. There's I drive International Drive area, which is pretty cute. There's like stuff to do, little restaurants, stuff like that, still touristy. Then you go further out that way and you're gonna hit Disney, so you have all the Disney parks, Disney Springs, etc. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of rare.
AKA the parts we try to avoid as much as possible. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
because
mean, Disney's, yeah, what were you gonna say?
Disney is, but like, nobody knows how to fucking drive in Disney. And it's like, it's all full of tourists. And like, especially when you like live in Orlando for so much, there's lots of times where you know, like, where you're going. And like, these tourists who just don't know how to fucking drive anywhere. I hate
Um,
tourists anywhere in general. Like,
yeah, they're
I say that until all of a sudden I am the tourist somewhere, then it's like, oh.
Then I am the villain. Am I the villain? I'm not the villain. Am I the drama? The drama. No, we're the villain in everything, in anything. I feel like, especially being queer people and nowadays, like, we're always the villain. But
Yeah,
anyways, but yeah, no, Disney, yeah, it's challenging. It's to be expected. Like, if you're gonna live here, just like, no, like, it's mixed of locals and then tourists, mostly tourists, and from everywhere. So I used to work in the malls and stuff like that, and the beauty counter, and I had to, like, I learned a little Spanish, a little bit, un poquito, muy un poquito. So, and a little bit, I'm really bad with Portuguese. So we had a lot of Brazilians, people from the UK.
yeah,
Very rare do we get people from Germany, but because it's so transit, so. But it is what it is. I definitely know most people say, "Oh, you're a unicorn." I'm like, I'm gay. I know. I'm like, unicorn, duh. But the unicorn
yeah.
of being that I'm born and raised here and here, so has some advantages and disadvantages, but it's okay. We like it. The beach is nice.
Well, saying that you're born and raised in Orlando, have you ever thought about leaving? And if so, where would you go?
Um, yes. And I mean, I definitely like the idea of traveling, just like visiting new places. Like, I've been to California quite a bit. I have some friends out there in LA, and I want to explore more of California, like the more, excuse me, northern parts. But
Yeah,
just in general, like, I want to explore, like, travel. But if I could live anywhere, That's kind of hard because I really want to go to Japan and I want to go to Germany and I want to visit like different places. Those are like top bucket list places I want to visit. As far as do I want to
Yeah,
live there, I don't know if I want to live there. But if I was gonna live somewhere, to be honest, Florida's great because the fact I was just talking about it today actually with one of my friends, like the beach. I love the beach, and California's great, but the water's too cold and I just so I need like tropical, give me warm, give me sun, give me like warm water, like I want to go on the beach, I want to be there, like that's like I definitely don't want to be shoveling snow, so I'm so sorry for the snowbirds, but I'm not I'll go visit the snow, but I don't want to live in the snow. So anywhere there's going to be a beach, something like that. I was thinking if it's going to be in the States, Florida's like, I don't know, I just can't really thinking like outside, like near the water. I'm like, it's kind of like right there. But if not, then like if I lived outside, maybe like I was thinking like I've been to Nicaragua before and that was
yeah.
beautiful. Costa Rica would be an option maybe. So yeah, those are some ideas, but I kind of like being close to the beach. So I mean, maybe that's partly one reason why I haven't really left as far as like moved. But I definitely want to travel more. So that's the thing for sure.
See, this is a Florida person who actually likes being in Florida. I've lived in Florida my whole life, and I want to leave. Like,
Yeah, it's just the thing about. Oh, what were we gonna say?
the place I want to move, because I will say this, I haven't said this before on the podcast, but I am considering moving to LA. It's like
That's
definitely,
yeah.
but I don't want to move to LA next because I want to do something different than Florida.
Mhm.
And I was thinking Atlanta.
Yeah. And Atlanta, like, I mean, it's close. It's Georgia. It's like
Yeah.
it's like a 6 hour drive, depending on, well,
Yes.
actually, I think Atlanta is 6 hours. It's not nine. Is it maybe nine? I forgot. But Georgia
No.
and Florida, they're close. Like, I mean, it'll take you maybe like, most of the day to get here, but you can drive or a short flight. So,
Yeah.
it'd be cheap. But yeah, no, Atlanta, like, it's nice. And then also depending on like what you specialize in, or especially like podcasts and stuff like that, or like
Yeah.
anything media related, is a hub for it. So yeah, or any film, TV, like anything like that, like if you're into that, definitely Atlanta for sure. So
And there's another reason why I want to move to Atlanta, but we're gonna discuss that later.
yeah, this is like, and
Anyway,
also there's some other reasons.
so what was it like for you growing up as a kid?
Oof, girl, that's the whole. Do we have how long do we got on? How many hours we got on here? I'm gonna just say, okay, so long story short, growing up, I guess like specifically as like finding out being like queer, specifically going there, man, I came out in a ninth, like technically I came out like ninth grade, but by like eighth grade going into high school, like literally my first day of high, like as a freshman, I had a rainbow belt on. I was like, bitch, here it is. That's what you're getting. It is what it is. Like that's how, like, it was either do it or don't. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
and I was like, that's how I was, and I like do it or don't. Like, there was the in between was kind of like a gray area, but I'm like, listen, I have to accept it with myself or not. And that even that took me a while, like to even get further there. But I thankfully had a really good supportive group in high school. Now, as far as like a kid, I really didn't, as far as like also being queer, like I really didn't get to explore more of that until like high school. So when I was like younger, it really didn't matter so much to me. But I will say I would say innocently, as a probably it was like what 8 or 9, I had like my first like innocently sexual experience with someone. We were the same age. It was like the next door neighbor, like we were the same age, like kids, and we were like playing around and like hide and seek, and then it just kind of went in different directions there. And I mean, It was mutual. It wasn't like it. I didn't feel like both of us weren't either one of us wasn't like no or wasn't like anything like that. It was fun. We were playing around, but I didn't have any like representation. I have brothers, just like biological. I say that biological brothers or sisters or anyone that was like queer in my family. So for me, it was just like figure it out as you go. So yeah. I don't know if that was helpful, but
Well,
yeah.
well, my next question was going to be, what was it like for you coming out? And
Yeah, I can go a little deeper into that actually. So coming
God,
out, um, my parents are divorced, but they like still see each other. My mom, which I had like the closest relationship with, she had the hardest time with it. Then my dad struggled a little bit, but again, my dad wasn't really in my life enough to really like it's for it to even like for me to consider to matter, whether he liked it or not. But I have a cousin on my dad's side of the family that's gay. So like, I guess he had some time there to kind of like at least have someone to kind of like talk to about it. Where my mom's side of the family, no one, to my knowledge, was queer. Like maybe like before, like my grandmother's like whoever on in German side of the family, maybe, but like here, like no. So, but it's really funny because when my mom, before she became a woman of the Lord, she used to have when I was like a baby, like small, like she used to work at National like car rental at the airport. She had a
yeah,
friend that did drag. He did drag. His name was Kevin. He did drag. He was obviously gay, like queer. Um,
yeah,
and they weren't like besties, but they hung out and like with a group. There was like a group of them, and yeah. And then so I don't know. Like after she became a woman of the Lord, she it changed. It changed her in many different ways. It changed our dynamics. And which again, like I'm not trying to shoot anybody, that down, like, like, well, I'm a Christian and I love gay people too. I'm like, that's great. But everybody has their differences within their own personal like spiritual practices and or if they're Christian, et cetera, go to a specific church. Um that it I guess it just depends. Like some people, she's very kind of become more like this is what it is type of thing, like with her belief. And it has gotten in, like you said, coming out, like it was difficult for her to like accept it. And but it's actually funny that you say that because literally the other day, like we'll have conversations, it'll come up, but she was reminded of when I first came out. I told her about how we went to dinner one time and I told her about how there are queer youth kids that get like they come out or they get found out and they get kicked out of their home because of them being gay or queer and whatever that looks like, and kicked out on the streets like with nothing or maybe just a bag or nothing, or they just kill themselves. And I told her, and she just like for some reason when I told her that, like she just started like breaking down, like crying. And like till this day, I said that like long time ago, like when I first came out. And so like till this day, like she brought it up and she's still like it, that something when I said that it like stuck with her. So she just like started crying and like and I guess like for her in her mind, like she just couldn't imagine that to be me, you know what I mean? Or I'm like, well, thankfully, like no, I never had to like go through that situation being kicked out because I'm gay or anything like that, or beaten or like or kill myself or anything like that. These things, but I like the way I say these things, it's like because the reality is like these things actually happen, and the fact that my
right,
mom does not have any idea. And so I'm like giving her like I'm gonna give you real life shit, like this stuff happens. It's
right,
unfortunate, but it happens. And so I'm like, you know I'm blessed that I didn't have to go through all of that. I had my own struggles, but and still kind of do to this day, as we all do in our own way, but I didn't have to go through those specific things. And so but yeah, there's more, but what were we gonna say? I'm gonna stop babbling and pass it to you.
Well, my thing is, this is the part where I'm going to tell you my coming out. So
Yeah.
I only had to come out to one parent because my mom passed away 4 months before I came out. So
Mm,
I did
that's
only
tough.
have to, yeah, I did only have to come out to my dad, which was easy. And
Okay.
my sister, I have an older sister, who I shouldn't have come out to, was a youth minister who
Yeah.
I had this I told him about this like theatrical idea I had with me performing singing with a knife and then like stabbing myself at the end, just dramatics, of course. But
The drama.
so when I told him this, he left the room, and then about 10 minutes later he came back into the room and he said, "Okay, you have one of two options. Either you're coming with me or I'm calling the cops."
Hmm.
And I did not think that calling the cops sounded like a good idea. Maybe I should let him do it. And you'll find out why in a second.
It's like,
But it's like,
oh,
so it's like I went with him to get a psych eval.
mm,
I passed the psych eval, but he came in, made up all sorts of like bullshit to say like I was lying, and
mm.
I got locked in a mental institution for 64 hours.
Wow, that's a coming out story if I never
Yeah.
heard of it. Yeah, that's wild, girl. That's intense and like, I mean, you got to experience what it's like, unfortunately, but at the same time, like, I mean,
Yeah.
so actually curious then how old were you, like or how young were you when you
Uh,
came out?
18.
Okay.
So, so they said like, but as I always say, like 18. But I would
Mhm.
say in some ways I was naive. So like there's like 18 where like you've explored the world, and then there's 18 where you're a little bit sheltered. I was more 18 where I was a little bit sheltered.
Gotcha. Yeah. I understand. I mean,
Yeah.
most people are into some way. I mean, there's everyone has their different backgrounds, but I would say like into some degree, but it's also too like your parents and then you're like you come out or whatever and then, either I don't know, did you ever just curious, did you ever feel like you wanted or feel like the to be accepted or like to like push for that? I know you said like because your mother passed away before, but just
I
in your family in general, just to feel like I want to be accepted, just as
it
is,
it's weird because like
pushed for it.
the reason I felt like in some ways she would have had like a hard time accepting it, but in in another sense I felt like she knew because like my mom was the one who introduced me to Madonna. So like
Yeah, she's
it's
like
like
inspiration.
it's like maybe and like when I came out to my sister, she's like I knew. And I'm like, you couldn't have given me a fucking hint, bitch. Like, it would have helped.
A flag, maybe a little sticky note, something, a little firework.
Yeah. But it's like I did the because of the religion, I did the and this was the either thing. I didn't even come out as gay. I came out as bisexual, as
Damn,
some of
I
us
tried
have.
it.
Yeah. And it's like even that was
It's
like this like big thing of like, oh no, you shouldn't do that. And then like
like,
all of a sudden what I call it kind of like my curve away from religion happened between the ages of 18 and 20, because what I started doing was I started doing research and they didn't like that.
So she was curious about other things and like, oh, we don't like that you can think for yourself. We don't like that you have the ability to
Yeah.
look into other things. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so
It's
that,
like it's like what's the Catholic Church's ties to the Illuminati, and like why is this a thing?
yeah,
Yeah, no, those kinds of questions were not accepted. Like
oh. That's the key to run. I'm just kidding. No,
I
but
I
yeah,
did I did run. I actually ran when I was living at home the first time. I'm back at home again.
yeah,
um
yeah.
but it was like I just I told my dad one day, I'm not going to church anymore because I don't feel accepted.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, if we, I mean, there, like, I will say this, there are instant like churches out there, like the institutions of churches out there that actually do like accept every. There's actually one. There's a few by where I live, down the street. But there's the one like closest to me. Not that they're Unitarian, but they kind of go more with that vibe of like
Yeah,
they have a pastor. Actually, the pastor is a female, which is actually kind of cool, by the way, because usually they're always male. Um, so or assigned male at birth, I will say that.
yeah,
And so but the pastor's cool, and anybody and everybody that is there, like, they doesn't matter if you're gay, trans, doesn't matter, like, you go to this church, they everybody there is great, like, they like accept you, they love you, like, and then you do your thing. So there is that, and that is always, to me, I think, like, no, like, I personally don't identify as a Christian, but because I have my own personal practices, but I also, like, in that context, like, if I were to think of someone that is like going to identify as Christian, or that is a Christian, like, I feel like that is the actual, like, to me, is like the actual of what Christ would have been. Like, just like, it
right.
doesn't matter who you are, girl, like, come hang out with us. Like, just come over here, wear your drag, wear your whatever, just come hang out and do the thing that we're doing and whatever, like, let's love and fellowship, etc. And, but also too thinking about, I think, which there's another a podcast that I follow, the Red Text on Spotify. So shout out to Voga. But definitely, if you guys are interested, definitely check that out. Like, they're queer practitioners, but they also like bring in aspects of being able to like demystify a lot of like Christianity and witchcraft and like queerness and like etc. So because I had a hard time with that as well, like religious trauma, and especially being coming
Yeah.
out gay, etc. So, and same thing, like you said, like, like, I would go to church with my mom and my parents, like, I would physically go with them. I didn't want to go, but I physically would go. But I would get there and then like pretend like I'm going to like the youth group, and then like skip and just like do whatever, and then just like, so that's essentially what it was. But I just, same what you said, like, I just didn't feel
Yeah.
accepted. I didn't feel like, and then also like I didn't feel like it was helpful for me, because I'm at that time I was still feeling like new into my identity of like really realizing like this part of myself, and it was so new, and I just didn't want anybody to kind of try to squander my sense of self, of either rediscovering or discovering deeper discovering that part of myself. And it was still so new and fresh, and I was like, I don't want someone to try to like pray it out of me or whatever, you know what I mean? So I was like, I like this.
Mm, I had that.
Also,
I had that after literally when that
oh,
youth
really?
minister when that youth minister tried to cover his ass. He sent me to a
Pray the
counselor
day.
who tried to, and I thought it worked for about 3 hours, and then I saw this like guy that I was into. I saw his ass, and then like all of a sudden I got a boner, and I'm
Yeah,
like, well, it clearly didn't
okay.
work.
It's like, we tried, but like it didn't stick, honey. You threw it on the wall and it just said boop, it bounced right. It stuck to the wall, but then it like was sliding down and it finally hit the ground. I was like, okay, it didn't work.
Yeah,
By the way, have you seen the
and
movie? Oh, what were you gonna say?
to your point of like having, even in Catholicism, there's one different because like I have a friend who lives in Orlando. He's like an older guy who's a priest, but he's also like a leather daddy. So I mean, like, it comes in all forms. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
Oh, no, you're right. And like, it's really what it is it's the institutionalized church itself is what is the actual problem. It's not so much as like the actual like practice of Christianity as like a practice of what it is, or Catholicism as it is. It's more about the institutions and like what they stand behind, and their, because again, which I will die on this fucking hill, honey. I will die on it with everything, roses, everything, tombstone, all of it. I will die on it. The hill is church and state are not separate. And no matter how many people want to tell themselves this lie that it is, I would say, listen, if you think it's separate, then look at your money, look at your currency. Like, what does it say literally on the back of your bills, or on the front of your bills, or the quarters or the dimes or the pennies? Like, in God we trust. So like, I just don't think like you could put something like that and say, oh yeah, but they're separate. I'm like, no, they're not. And just say that it's not separate, and then realize that it's not, and then come to understand that they should be separate, because, you know,
It's what's in the Constitution. Like,
but it's not separate, girl. It's like
but
they
but
said
but
one thing and did the other thing.
but this is the thing. I would
Listening.
argue, yeah, yes, it's not completely separate, but it's in some ways, yes, it needs to be more separated, but it's also separated enough. Meaning, like, the church is not literally in charge of the government. That's what we don't.
Mm, I don't know about that. I think then, that can go into like conspiracy, but again, like, they have a strong hold influence on what goes on politically, because you have to think about the people that are running for, like, that are in the legislations, that are like passing these bills, etc.,
Right.
whether they actually go to church or not, because a lot of people just like, they go on Easter only, or like, there's like a saying that, or like they go like only certain times of the year, and then they're like, I'm a Christian. I'm like, but not really. So like, but regardless, they still hold on to that, background, that they say I'm a Christian. They say that I'm a Christian, or I'm a Catholic, or whatever. I'm a Christian, like, and they're in the legislation. They're the ones that
Yep.
passing the bills. So it's like, no, like the
Right.
physical, no, like the physical church, like, no, you don't have your pope or your pastor
Yeah. Yeah.
going to
That's
the
the part
thing.
I'm talking about.
But and even then, but you have to think about the people that are in the legislation, that are the legislators. Like, they are majority of them are Christian. So in a way, it is like, and that's why we're having a hard time now, especially as queer people, because here's the thing is, like, I don't, some people will have it, the religious traumas there. Like, I'm still working through my own in small pieces through my own craft. But I don't care, like, if you're Christian, like, it doesn't bother me. Like, you believe what you want, like, that's why we have the right to do that here, right?
Yeah.
But here's the difference, is when you believe that your faith, or whatever your belief is, has more value, or even using the word more, or value over anybody else's, and like thinking that they're better than, and that their belief, their God or whatever, is better than, and so we're going to try to like come after you, or convert you, or kill you, or whatever, etc., or like persecute you because of who you are, and also because you don't follow along with what we believe in. And it's like, okay, so we don't, but why can't we just like coexist? Like, you can be a Christian, no one's stopping you, no one's trying to stop you from
Yeah.
going to church, like, do your thing. But I don't. I'm not gonna like make fun of you, but I also don't believe in it. But like, I'm not. It's not stopping you. I'm not. My personal life is not hindering your life from doing what you do. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
physically holding you back from like going to church, or making laws to say, oh, I think it should be illegal for you to go to church, or like you to marry your wife, or whatever. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to go out of my way to do that as a queer person.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say?
And it's like also to that point of everyone like with gays and religion. It's like, listen, there's a reason that most of us leave because, in addition to like not being gay, one of their crazy rules is that you're not supposed to jack off, and it's like for some of us that's a
Well,
daily occurrence. Like,
I was like, dang, that went out the window, girl, a long time ago. Before, like, there's a lot of things that, like, I mean, there's a lot of contradictions in that institution, in that practice. But I don't have the time, nor do I really care enough to worry about their own personal like contradictions that are like I know enough to know that when they step over that line, like making like now, no, I don't identify as trans, but I have trans friends and people
Yeah.
in my life, and just in general, like the community, like they're my community. So like, in my life that, they're parents and they have kids, and now
Yeah.
like there's that whole bill where they're trying to, it's not, if it's not already passed at this point, it's soon, that they want to try to like take away their kids because they're trans, and if they report them or whatever, and it's like because if they deem it to be not mentally stable or whatever. But it's funny because they did the same thing a long time ago with gay people, like just in general, like gay people, like
Yeah.
they thought we were like mentally unstable, etc. And I'm like, actually, if you look the other way, I'm pretty sure based on like popes touching little boys, etc., like all these other things, like y'all want to talk about we're mentally unstable, like I think like the heteronormative narrative needs to look in the mirror and be like, look at y'all self, and you want to come for us, like look at you
Yeah.
guys, like you guys are no bucket of popcorn, no cotton candy, like it's, they mess over there too. But the idea is, what I say that is like, I could be cordial and friends with anybody, doesn't matter if you're Christian, Catholic, whatever, doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
just when you push you push yourself, your beliefs to on someone else or a group of people, and like by force, or trying to do it like in giving ultimatums, like if you don't do this thing,
Yeah.
then your life is on the line, or we'll kill you or we'll hang you or whatever it is. It's like a witch hunt at this point. I'm like, all right, like I thought we were through this, but we're not. So
Well, what
here we are.
just yeah.
What are you saying?
What Justify doesn't want to say is we're better.
You know what I
And
mean? Like we've got more options. We've got more options available for y'all. So, and to be honest, like a lot of I mean, I don't know, there was like a poll that was done that like as the years have gone by, like within this year, like the amount of queer people in general has increased. Like the amount of like known queer people in the populace has like increased like a lot, and that's just probably like over time with things that how things are moving, like people with the technology and advancement of everything, and like more people are allowing themselves, or there's more spaces maybe being provided for people to like explore their queerness, like meaning like
yeah,
they might have been told that they were heterosexual their whole life, or believed that that was the narrative that they had to live in, and then something comes along or a
of
situation comes
course.
along, and then they question themselves. They're like, oh, like maybe I'm not 100% straight, you know.
Right.
And then now you are kind of dip your toes a little bit into our ponds, and like we have a lot of room, girl. Like come join.
Right.
But yeah, but essentially, yeah, like I don't know. It's just it's this kind of, it's what it is they use the church, the institutionalized church, and
Yeah.
the political parties use fear
Hmm.
to make Kool-Aid, and they put it in the Kool-Aid, and then people are drinking it and they're like, oh my god, queer people are the devil, they're drag queens are killing kids, and I'm like, no, they're fucking not. But all right,
Yeah.
tell me, when have you seen a story on TV anywhere that you've like that Kool-Aid must be taste real good, girl, because I don't know what you're saying, because I have never, I don't really watch the news that often, but even then I would have probably still heard like like murder drag queen out, out wanted arrest or something. Like no, I've never heard that
No,
ever.
because
And
it has.
even if the cases would be like that small.
And plus, like, if we really wanted to go after people, we'd be going after the people who are trying to make us seem evil, not
Right.
after innocent people.
Right. But the thing about that is that,
Which I'm
like,
not. Which okay, I just have to be clear. I'm not saying that's right.
yeah,
I'm just
well,
saying that's how it would be.
I mean, evil to me, we actually on our podcast we have like a whole episode on like what is evil and the origin of that, etc. But where to condense that down, I would say evil to me is someone or something that is causing harm or suffering for the sake of doing it, for like no particular, like there's no real particular reason, only just to see the suffering of others, to do it just for that sake. Like there's no real like specific motive, or it wasn't to like protect anybody. It was just literally just to do it just to, because they want to see that person or those people suffer. And that, I think, is the closest that I think I can possibly get to like what I would see evil. And to be honest, on like the first episode that we have like posted on our podcast, we talked a little bit about the institutionalized church and etc., and the satanic panic and etc. And so like people, they want to say like oh well, they're Satanists or they're devil worshippers or like all these things, and it's like, but you guys literally do the things that you think we do. So it doesn't, it's like almost like it's like almost like a cognitive dissonance. And I would say
Yeah.
like that's probably the problem, is there's a strong cognitive dissonance wall, and they just haven't had the opportunity to like look at like even the word like Satan, or not necessarily Lucifer, but like specifically Satan isn't like a person. Like Satan biblically just means like in Hebrew is shaitan, and then that translates to adversary. So
Yeah.
technically, Satan isn't, for those listening, Satan is not a person. It's not one. It's not one thing. It's just anything can be satanic or Satan. Like it's just someone that is an adversary. So if you want to put it in context, now we can take that and put it in the context of like, to me, I think someone that's trying to come for my family just because it's quote unquote different looking compared to someone, the heteronormative narrative, lifestyle, which that's a whole thing, but
Yeah.
and they want to come from me, and I'm like, I think that you are being very adversarial to me. Like you're making my life more difficult because you don't like it, and you're going out of your way to make it so that that is the thing, and that to me is adversarial. So technically, I think there's a little devil in us all, even
Right.
for those that call us themselves Christians. So just saying.
So, right. So to this next question, and when I'm writing these questions, I'm like, "Fuck, this sounds like I'm talking out of Harry Potter." But
We love it.
anyway. So
Slytherin, by the way.
what fascinated you about witchcraft and the dark arts?
So witchcraft entirely, I think few reasons why most people come to it, and me specifically. One reason would be because witchcraft, like most people that come to it within the same narrative of like, it is a way that for those that are marginalized or in some way like oppressed or feel like they don't have any kind of say or voice or power in the things that go on in the world that they live in, like one of the main things is they come to the craft because that is a way that we can feel through learning different aspects of it, like can feel empowered, and being able to kind of take certain things that we thought that we couldn't do into our own hands, and taking accountability and responsibility and our own sense of power and strength in the craft. So that's one reason why. And then also too, like you mentioned, Harry Potter is just like, then there's always like the fantastical parts of it.
Yeah.
So I and like as I continue within my craft, like I see the magic, like I see it, as I do it, and it's beautiful, it's wonderful, and like being open to that, it's in and of itself, it's fantastical. It's not what I think most people think of, like doing like a Harry Potter spell, but as
Yeah.
like specifically like, but it like when you actually are very involved, and not just academically involved in your craft, but like
Yeah.
if you're, so here's the thing, I will say this, there's witchcraft, and then you can just also practice like magic, like there's other different modalities of magic, right? And you don't have to be a witch to practice magic. Like anybody technically can practice magic. You just need kind of a little bit of like a fundamental idea of magic, but anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Now, witchcraft specifically is very specific, and I think some people that want to call themselves witches, but then when it actually comes down to like doing the work, getting the dirt under your nails, then they don't want to do it. And it's like, and again, like I'm not here to like sit down and with everybody and say who and who is not a witch. Like I don't have time nor energy. Do I care to do it? But as far as like giving, like for those that are really kind of afraid to like put some dirt under their nails and do something, like then maybe witchcraft isn't the path for you, and maybe you
Right.
can practice magic still, but maybe not specifically witchcraft, because witchcraft by nature and and if we're going to go historical context, like is you're gonna get your hands dirty and you're gonna have to
Right.
learn at some point. And if you're too afraid or not, or feel like it's too quote unquote dark to do, then maybe a witch isn't maybe the path for you. But you can still practice magic and in that way, and that's fine. Like do something else. But that's my little tidbit. But again, like I'm not gonna here to tell Mary Joe Schmo what they do, like but I'm
Right.
just saying, like as a witch to me is like, I think of a witch as like a rose. Every rose has its thorns, so it's like a witch
Right.
to me is like a rose, like a perfect example of that, of the ability to bless and heal and do that, but also the ability to like, listen, I have my thorns and I'm not afraid of them and I'm not afraid of my power. And so like the thorns are there, honey, you can come for me if you want to, but try, like I'm protected. So like gotta do blessing and baneful in both hands. What were you gonna say?
Work.
Like,
Work.
compliment. Yes,
Okay.
that's if that gave you a little bit into why, like practicing the craft, etc. So
Okay, so was turning towards like the dark arts a way of rebelling against religion for you?
yes, I would say it is, because it is rebellious. It is. I would use the word to be, even to use the name or to embrace the mantle witch and queer and faggot and all those things that I am, right? To
Or
embrace them all, like, is transgressive and by nature of what is to our like social structures, and political as well. Definitely witchcraft is definitely political for sure, especially with what's going on. um and so yes, I would say most of my works that I do is mostly for me, and a lot of it is like I've had a couple friends and people I've like given some tips and tricks to, but other
yeah,
than that I do it for myself. And um more than like, I know it's going to sound strange, like for me, when it comes to maybe, excuse me, more of the baneful work or the dark like arts part of it,
yeah,
is that I have made, like I have powders, like I've made, like grow poison plants, datura being one of them. That's where I also got my drag name from. But
yeah,
yeah, so I grow them, and I work with them. I develop a relationship with those spirits, specifically plant spirits, because I have an herbalist background. So
yeah.
but then like growing them it's like, it is very, it's very, there's it's very rewarding. It's almost like someone that has like a dog or a cat, that they're, like the way that someone would have a dog and a cat is the way that I feel, the way I do with the spirits that I work with, or like especially the plant spirits that I work with, that are incorporated into my own personal craft. So,
Right.
and they're very much as alive as like my cat, or not, I don't have a cat, but like a cat or a dog or someone that has
Yeah.
that. It's just, I think some people that don't see it, like they just kind of stop at like, well, a dog can give me a kiss and a hug or whatever, can smile at me. I'm like, well, yes, but plants, or specifically because I'm more connected to the plants that way, like they do that for me, but they do it in a different way that's not the way that most people are open to. um but yeah, I mean, I as far as like the dark arts, like I've done a couple hexes and curses here and there. but I wasn't afraid to do it, and I've done it. But it's not something I go around like. I like to think of it like having a gun, like, and that's a whole
Yeah.
other topic. But it's
Yeah.
like it's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. But at the same time, I just don't go around slinging hexes and curses left and right just because I can. I mean, yeah, I mean, I could, but like I don't really see the need to do so because like I know what it can do and like the ripple effect and how it can do. So I do it when I know I really need to do it. So no, like I normally don't do it on the regular. I'm not like hexing and cursing all the way, but
Yeah.
if I need to do it, I can do it, and I'm not afraid to do it. So like that's how I kind of see it, like the whole Spider-Man, like with great power comes with great responsibility, and
Yeah.
that's what I kind of see there. But again, I'm not telling anybody what who they can hex or not or do. Like you do you, boo. But that's just how I stand within your question to the dark arts.
In part, I'm just gonna make a comment on one thing that you said about like your herbs and stuff being like, in some ways, I know this is a weird way to describe it, but it's like in some ways it's like there's some ways like your children, which is something I totally get as like a songwriter. It's like when I tell
Mm,
people that like when I produce stuff, when I like make beats and all that, and it's like when I do like everything, that's my baby that I pour my heart and soul into. And it's like a
that's
lot
your
of people
magic.
don't people get that. And it's like if you don't have this, and like I would say going back to like me doing that, I remember this time in audio engineering school. Like I'm very someone who like makes beats, but I make like very simple beats. And they're like, these sounds don't change. These sounds don't change. I'm like, wait until you hear my vocals. Everything's gonna make sense. Like I don't
Yeah.
have to make a tons of like level changes and all of this and like have tons of sounds. Sometimes simple is the most brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be. Yeah, and it also is everything is context too. So like, if that is what you're going for, then that is what you're going for. Like that
Yeah.
this is what it is. Like, it's like it's not saying that you couldn't make it complex or more complex, etc. Like if you did, if you wanted to, you could. You know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
that's something that was for what you're doing, but if it's like what I'm intentionally doing it this way because this is what I want, and actually maybe this is more preferable that I do it this way. And so yeah, and I think people just kind of just appreciate it for what it is, like or not. And that's fine. That's not for them. It's
Right.
not for them. Like I said, witchcraft is not for everybody, honey. Like
Right.
you don't need to you can do this and not have to do that. So like it's just I think and the only way I really feel like you're gonna know is if you do it.
Try
And
it.
then you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, and the only way you're really gonna know is like if you do it, and then you're like, oh, like this really isn't for me, and that's okay, and you're like, I tried it, did it, and wasn't. So yeah,
Right.
but yeah, that's your magic. Like you're pouring, like you said, you pour your heart, like your heart and soul into it. Like, there's magic is imbued in everything, and it's for those that can see it and can
Hmm.
manipulate it to their with their will is the ones that are the practitioners, and so it's up to them. But then it's so funny though. I have people with no kind of magic trying to tell us what to do with it, and it's like don't have you don't have you don't know how to wield your magic, or you don't have magic in general. Maybe they don't, I don't know, but it's like you trying to tell me what I can or should and shouldn't do, like, oh, karma this or karma that. I'm like, I don't really care about karma girl. Me and her are best friends, like, and also like we in as a witch, like specifically I know more new age modern witches are like karma, and like karma is a Eastern like term, and so like you really as a witch you wouldn't really understand that because it doesn't it's the belief systems of Buddhism, etc. Like that doesn't it can be incorporated, and if you are doing that and incorporating, that's great, like that's awesome,
Yeah.
but not every witch is going to do so. So like when they try to come here like, oh, if you do a hex, then it's going to come back to you, and like it doesn't always work like that, boo. And like
Right.
I know that they want to think that, and that's fine, and again, like that if that's what they believe, that's what they believe. But like when there are situations that come up and reasons why someone's going to do a hex or a curse, like I said, for me, more than likely, it's because it's a situation that it needs to happen. You know, like that situation needs to happen because this situation of this person or whatever like did this thing, and it, like, to me, I think of them as like lessons. Like I think of like hexes and curses to me are like hard lessons for these people to learn, and for whatever the situation may be. And so, you know, it's not intentionally to like, you know, I've I've never really, you know, personally never really willed someone to die in that situation. Like I've never been in that situation where I needed that. Like I feel like I've done enough to just kind of make their lives miserable,
Yeah.
or at least like, you know, compelling them to be miserable in these certain ways. And sometimes like that's just enough. Like I'm like, then they get it, and then they're like, okay, like something's going on. Like I need to, you know, get a work this out or whatever it is. But you know, and then they'll figure it out, or they don't, or they keep it. Or here's the thing, is because that curse or hex can be there, they might have to keep repeating that cycle because it's a pattern until they learn it, you know.
Right.
So, you know, and that's what I really think that it is like. But as far as like willing someone to die, like I mean, there are plenty of people I can think of that just need a good killing, but I don't really tend to just need a good killing, honey. But I don't personally put a lot of effort into those things because I don't really feel like my life is on the line. Like something like that, I feel like, you know, it's gonna be more for like protection, um, than anything. Not
You
trying to go out. What are you gonna say, Boo?
you want to do more like, at least from what I'm saying, you want to use whatever you have for in quote unquote good instead of evil.
Yeah, like, but so here's the thing, is that's a good conversation because like good and evil, like what is that? You know what I mean? Because like I can still lay something down for someone and be like, you know, make their lives like miserable, or they get sick, or whatever it is, or whatever it might be that I feel that suits the suits the, not crime, but I don't want to say it like it's like a crime, but suits the situation. I guess that's the best way to put it. And um, I, you know, like I don't necessarily think it might be evil. I think that it's something that maybe this person just needs to know or learn. But the other way around, for them, they might see that, you know, oh, you're doing a curse, you're doing a hex, or like it's evil. And I'm like, but you know, it's good for me because, you know, this, based on this situation, like I will give you an example because it technically
Okay.
already happened, and so I only really talk about things that have already transpired because it already happened. Then things that are either
Yeah.
in the works or working. So this has to do with like an ex, and so I'm gonna kind of be a little punny, like I've hexed my ex, and yeah, only one time. The second one I could have, but I didn't. But the second time, like I did it because it was like in the situation, like I by like the second time, like I was like, okay, like I need to take responsibility for my part of this situation.
Right.
But at the same time, like they knew what they were doing, and I knew they knew what they were doing, and they knew that they knew what we were doing. And it came out later on, but after I did it. But I pretty much kind of like essentially like made them do the thing that I was doing with, like, for them. So like I was the one that was like not like after them, but like I, you know, put effort and like kind of put all my eggs in like one basket and sort of thing, which was a lesson I needed to learn, you know, after that. And then, but then also looking at it as, um they didn't, I don't think there was like that much appreciation reciprocated back. And then but then they wanted XYZ from me, and it was just like, okay, like you only just want like sexual favors, but you don't want XYZ. So it was like, all right, like, so it came to a point, then it reversed itself. And then it was like the tables turned, essentially the tables were turned, and that's what I did. So I turned the tables, and I was like, oh, how does that taste? How does it feel like taste? Let me see. Mm. It's sweet. It's like strawberry grape. But no, like
Word.
that's kind of like, so like something like that, like, and it went on for a while. It went on for a while and then eventually it stopped. But it went on long enough to do what it needed to do. Um
Right.
that would be like a situation. But no, I've known witches that I've known that have done workings to put people under the ground, but I myself have not gone down, and hopefully don't. Ideally, realistically, I hope I don't need to go down that road. But like I said, better to have it and need it not have it. So that's how I'm. Yeah. How
And
about you?
first of all, I'm just meeting Justify for the first time. But it's like, if you fuck over Justify this much, like, Justify seems like super chill and nice. And like, if you do that much, like, maybe
Mhm.
there's something in you.
Yeah, most of my friends will say the same exact thing. They're said like if you like I will tell you this one time my one of my best friends from high school I went to go pick her up from work and it was like late and at the time like I had my car and it was my car was like it she went through a lot but I went to go anyways I went took with my friend to go pick her up from work and we were a little bit late like picking her up, but even then I'm like I'm picking you up, like I'm coming out of my way to like pick you up, like I love you,
Right.
but you know what I'm saying. So like picked up from work and then she wanted to run her mouth all the way back and she just kept running her mouth in the back seat and this is what I said. I didn't say anything. She kept running, talking. And I literally reached back and I smacked the shit out of her. And I like with my back hand, like I smacked it. And she already, and we talk about it till this day. Like that's how transparent I am. And she shut up the whole way home. She didn't say a single word. She was like, she couldn't say anything because I probably smacked all the words out of her mouth. She was like, all right, like, but she knew what she did. And like, and never again. That's the only one and done. It's a one and done. Like, you run your mouth, honey. You pushing her, and then, but she knew too. She was like, she's like you said, like if you take advantage of the kindness, or if you're like something like that, and and even then it takes a lot, but it takes that one moment, honey, that one moment, and then that hand's coming, telling you right now.
Yeah.
So I'm not quick to jump on anything. Like I don't have like I don't have like a reaction like I need to curse someone like right now. Like I don't I
Yeah.
that's not my thing, that my go-to. But if I feel like based on the situation has happened and it's like, all right, like I've done XYZ 1 2 3 and that didn't work, all right, I have time to bring out the big guns and I'm not afraid to use them.
Right.
So I don't typically go, but again, like I say, I go back to for those that are practitioners that are throwing curses and hexes, like do as much as you want, girl. Like I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do, especially as a witch. Like I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to get in anybody's way. Like do you curse who you want to, hex who you want to, do your thing, boo. But for me, that's how I roll. So just gonna say,
Anyway,
yeah.
so this is such a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
No stupid question. Yeah.
I am so judgmental of myself. Have you ever gotten judged? Oh, wait. Yeah. Have you ever gotten judged by people for being / presenting yourself in a demonic way?
Yes. Or just like if I'm wearing something or just anything I post or something that has like a quote unquote darker edge to it. Like, I've had like people in groups, never really on the street. Like I've never had anybody like yell anything at me or anything like that. But looks for sure. And I've had like people like it was funny because we ended up doing like we made it like funny just because of the fact that we knew his background, but it was a group of friend of ours, and still I'm good friends with one of them today, but it was a friend
Yeah.
of ours like back in the day, like the gays would all hang out at their house. So it was kind of like that kind of place. And one of them, how I met them was like through one of them, and he grew up Jehovah's Witness, so that's already giving you the story right there.
Mm-hmm.
So like anything that was like that seemed kind of like that, just a big nor. So and so without any understanding of what I do or anything like that, so uh one of my really good friends, I'll say his name because he's my good friend, Dave, at the time, like, and then his now ex-husband, they had like a party, and like one of the friends was coming over, that say one the one that was and we did
Yeah.
this little like spoof thing where like they were like, "Oh, he's coming!" And like we just like stood around this like thing or whatever in like the circle, like turn off the lights, and because they had like the open door kind of policy, like if there's a pool party or something, like just come in, like make yourself home,
Yeah.
like come, whatever. So he'd like we turn off the lights, we could tell, and then like we were all standing in a circle, we were like chanting, like whatever, just like being, and then he opened, there's like no, and he like walked out, and he like did he get in his car? I don't think he did. But he like turned around. He had bags. He's like, nope. And he like walked, and we just died laughing. Like it was funny. So we made fun of me. We made light of the situation. But yeah, he like no. There's people that um I don't think they get it. But I've never other than that, no, I've never been like like I don't want to say like gay bash, but like
Yeah.
demon bash or whatever, like witch bash or anything like that. Like because I've worn something. I wear contacts sometimes too, my little shields. And some people like either get really freaked out by them, or they get really intrigued, or they get enchanted by them. I've gotten that.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
I mean,
Nothing too
I
wild.
I loved your photos. I saw you're super hot.
Well, I do like I try different ones, so like I will see like which ones work, but I try to like
Yeah.
sometimes like I'll do like a little a little this, a little that, and then they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh, and then just compels them. I work my magic there. I'm just like, oh, I can just compel you to do what I want you to do.
See,
Yes.
I will admit, when you said Jehovah's Witness,
Yeah.
the first like joke thing that went into my mind when you said you shut off the lights, I'm like, "What, were you throwing a surprise party?" Like,
Yeah. We were like,
yeah,
we wanted to make it like a cult sort of like
you would have gotten
situation
the
where
same reaction if you had thrown him a surprise party. You should have been like,
oh, he's
"Surprise!"
easy to scare. He's super easy to scare.
Well,
And
it's not
they,
only that. Surprise
yeah,
birthday party for what you don't celebrate.
yeah. Oh, bless his heart. I know he never got to. That was the one thing we would say. Like he never really got to. I think now it changed. It might have changed a little bit, but when he was younger, he never got to. So we did a little bit of something. But yeah, I know he was super easy to scare, super easy to
Yeah,
like play with, like get. But it was fun. Like just we made light of the situation. But yeah, like I've never had like going back to your question. I've never
yeah,
had anyone specifically like go out of their way or like make fun of me or try to like do anything to me because of how I present, or if I'm like wearing like certain clothes or anything like that. Usually it's either like a weird look or it's usually it's a lot of times it's sometimes like it's the opposite. Like people like they like it, like they get turned on by it. I'm like, oh
of
really?
course.
I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, tell me more. I'm like, oh, so you like this? I see. And then just go from there and just play with it. But
Work. So,
yes.
okay, there we go. I'm trying to read the sunglasses. We'll talk more about why I wear them when I get to your drag questions. But anyway,
Yeah, no worries.
so as a shadow worker, have you mainly just tried to uncover your trauma, or have you tried to uncover other people's trauma?
Well, to be honest with you, super like crystal clear, transparent. I feel like realistically, some may say otherwise, but I feel like to do shadow work or to help facilitate or guide people with shadow work, um, you have to kind of have done some of most, if not some of it, for yourself. You know what I mean? Like you can't
Yeah,
just like say, oh, and then like go out there and like do it, because like what are you working with? Like you have to have that real life experience of like working and process and continue. It's, and again, shadow work isn't something that you, it's not like a, this is a week trial program and like da da da, like
Yeah.
14 days. Like it's not like
Yeah.
that. Like if that's what you're thinking, just pretend no. Like just don't worry about it. But shadow work, like in general, like is a journey. It's a journey. It's not about a destination. It's about the journey of working through and accepting and processing and like not necessarily rehash in the excuse me, rehash in the way to like cause more harm, but
Yeah.
bringing up really uncomfortable things, uncomfortable situations, topics, things that like really maybe limit us, beliefs, things that like are limiting, or things about ourselves that we don't accept, that could be very powerful for us to do if we did, to come to terms with certain things, to process like that trauma, you know. So again, like it's like shadow work is a journey, it's not a destination. It's not the 5-star destination that we're hoping for, but you know,
Yeah.
it's definitely the journey for us. Yeah. um but go back to your question. I mean, like, you know, through my own experiences, that's how I like am able to like navigate and help to guide people that have come to me for guidance. And that's the way I use it, like
Yeah.
support and guidance through it, giving them tools, resources that can be helpful to help them navigate their own shadow and to heal their own shadow and actually find power in their own shadow and to embrace their shadow instead of run away from it or push it down as it's been forever, like, you know, in their lives, and come to terms and heal. And like, you know, yeah, it will, you'll face things, you'll face things that are really scary and uncomfortable, but that is where they're going to find their power, that's where they're going to find their strength, that's where they're going to find their place. And that's where ultimately, like, that's where the magic, that's also kind of like where the magic is at. That's where
Yeah.
the healing comes from, like the true healing, not just talking about it as like an idea, but actually like living the experience of it and like really embodying those transformations and that discomfort and that, like, you know, that going through the 7 stages of shock and then denial and etc., like, and then getting to that final acceptance stage and then really embracing it and taking that time to really embrace the thing that you don't like. And again, I always say too, like, if you don't like it, then change it, boo. Like, if you don't like something, change it, you know. And if you can't, then accept it, you know.
Right.
So it's like, you know, but yeah, what were we gonna say?
No. Okay, you're good. So to that point, the whole point of not liking something and changing it, again, as I said, I'll bring up later because I have other questions, but I totally get that. So, where am I? Oh, so what made you want to become an herbalist?
It actually started with, that's a good question. It actually started with my
Yeah.
path of growing plants. I um had just a little knack of like growing. That's where my whole, I feel like my plant path in general really started, was growing plants. Like having the little seed beds and like just trying it out. And I've killed so many, but the idea is, it's not about like, and yeah, I know it sucks, but at the same time, like, that's why there are also so many seeds. So like, you know, that's the, if, could you imagine like one plant gave one seed and like that was it ever, like, then it's like, ooh,
Yeah.
like I would feel more responsible. But it's like there's so, and also all the seeds that they make, not all of them are even viable to begin with. So like out of how many seeds that are produced from a plant, like one plant, like not all of them are going to even live anyways. So, you know, coming from the fact of I can feel and understand like how some people are like, oh my God, I killed it. I'm like, have process remorse, like do it. But at the same time, like, no, like life and death and of this aspect, like it's just part of the process. Like you're not going to save all of them. Like it just doesn't, it's not realistic, you know. So, and not all of them need to be saved anyways, not all of them are going to even be born or be come into their full potential, but it is the ability that this plant can do so. And so I just love the idea of like seeds and like putting them in the ground and like watering them, giving them the things that they need, watching them grow from like little babies to like I have them to like full plants, and see them and then reap the rewards of the fruit of the literal fruit of my labor. Like literally, like I
Yes.
grow elder is one of my favorites, herbs and just plants in general. And I have
Yeah.
3 of them in my by my house, and I remember when they were little, and like I like I don't want to say rescued them like they're like a rescue dog. Like I rescued them from the shelter. But I rescued them from the side of the road, which is what I did.
Aw.
And I brought them my property, and because like I love elder and people love elderberry or like drink elderberry syrup and stuff. So I was like, let me grow it and cultivate it and work with it. And to and also they're really resilient, especially because they grow really well in Florida. So I didn't have to
Yeah.
do much. Like I took care of them, but I didn't have to do much because they just kind of just some just do on their own. They just do well, and so now they're huge. They're as tall as my house, and
Wow.
we get berries and flower. Now they're flowering again because we're going into the season. But then we'll get berries from them, and I pick them, and I freeze them, and then I make elderberry syrup or different things with it. And again, it's yummy, and then it's also really healthy and like helps support the immune system and etc. Respiratory immune system. So it just built. So like to me, like as an herbalist, like that's one aspect I love about being an herbalist. Like is actually cultivating the relationship with a plant. And that's the
Right.
one thing I would say too is like I have so many books. Like girl, I will show you right now. Like let's do a because I think I can maybe it'll let me. I don't know if it'll let me turn the view. If not, then I will just kind of do like this. This is my actual office. So I have some resource books here. So all these herb books here, I love
Yeah.
them. And then I have like my herb cabinet there. For those that can't see, like are just listening, I'm just showing. But
Yeah.
and then if you do, you can watch the video on YouTube later or wherever it's going to be streamed. But yeah, my herb cabinet, there are tinctures, dried herbs, storage, different spaces there. I have stuff I'm working on here, oils and stuff. I have my like thing there, and then just like my resources, and this is like my like desk area. So
Yeah.
it's like the little office space. But besides that aspect of it, like I just love like actually like getting out there in the dirt and like actually like growing the plants. And my thing to anybody that's interested in herbalism, definitely get your resource, get your books. Like there's a lot of really great books out there on herbalism. Matthew Wood is a great herbalist that I love. He got the Earthwise herbal books. Shout out to him. And then also my actual teacher, Sage Papam, on evolutionary herbalism. Just throwing a little handle out there for you guys. Yeah, he's amazing. I love them both. There are so many great other herbalists out there. But my thing is to, if you're gonna work with the plants in this way, I think one of my other teachers have said like it's really just nice to you can have like a repertoire of this herb is for this and this herb is for that and this herb is great for
Yeah.
this, but it's like great, but like it doesn't, you really can't develop a relationship with the plants, like grow it, like smell it, taste it, like touch it, like
Right.
like really immerse yourself and connect with the plant. And really, some herbalists will go a whole year or more working with just one plant. Like as there's a books that have like chamomile and da 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 and feverfew and mistletoe and etc. Like all
Yeah.
these plants, they're great, but if you just only know what they're good for, like it's very limiting. And it's also allopathic. But I feel like having this like work with one plant, one herb that really stands out to you or that maybe speaks to you, because maybe that one plant, it maybe connects to you because it actually really helps you. So maybe like someone that maybe suffers from like insomnia and really like has a hard time, they like really want to like get really good night's sleeps, and like just having, and they can't shut their brain off, and it's like going all the time, and they're just like suffering
Hmm.
from that. There are other factors that factor into that. That's why herbalists, we sit down and do a consultation. But as far as herbs and supporting someone that may have that like overthinking, like they're laying in bed and their mind's just churning, like, you know, maybe working with passion flower, you know, and it's very gentle and is unnerving, you know, and helps with supports being able to kind of like quiet the mind from that like churning of like what do you have to do the next day, to kind of bring you into like a restful sleep, or at least getting you to that space where you can do that. And then there are other herbs too that can help with sleep, but that's just as an example. And maybe grow, you know, if you're able to grow passion flower in your yard, you know, be careful because it is a vine, but if you can grow it, cultivate it, like harvest it, and that might be a great way. And then you have your fresh passion flower teas that you can make, and just learning about it and like what you like get from it. Like, does it make you feel cheery, or like, you know, it's just really immersing yourself as an herbalist, and it's not just academic sitting with like a pen and paper and like reading from a book. Like that's
Right.
great, don't get me wrong with that, but I feel like a well-rounded herbalist, if you're going to go down that road, is kind of both. It's a little bit of both. It's like, yeah, have your books, have your resources, like write down your observations, etc., like take pictures, but try to also immerse yourself with the herbs, with the plants.
Right. And okay, I have my next question, but two, just some of your points. First of all, the point of you saying that, like, quote, killing the plants is wrong. It's literally one of the arguments that I feel like you have to kill the plant, you have to kill some plants because of overpopulation of plants. It's honestly the reason why when so many like vegans talk about like not killing animals and like eating animals, it's like you have to do things to prevent overpopulation.
Right.
Like that's just like a part of human life. Like I'm not saying if you want to be vegan, that's great, but we all can't be vegans simply because of that fact.
Yeah. Like if every animal, like also like if all the tigers decide to go vegan or the lions decide to go vegan, like,
Yeah.
okay, well then who's killing? I mean, at that point, the only thing that's going to kill this population, like as an example, like lionfish, and I'm sure Florida, like off the coast or whatever, like I'm sure they're there too, but like lionfish don't really have any many natural predators, if all, any. So very few, I would say, very few
Yeah.
natural predators. So they can keep producing and populating, right? You know, and if there's no control over how many there are, then there's like a bunch of lionfish everywhere, and obviously like lionfish are poisonous, but
Yeah.
which is a factor too. But then there's just too many. There's too many, right? And so it's not neither cruel nor kind. Nature is neither cruel nor kind. Like nature
Yeah.
is nature, and that's part of my like all of my herbalism, witchcraft. Like it's all part of my craft. Like it's all part of it,
Yeah.
and like understanding nature is neither cruel nor kind. Like it is fair. It's fair to, I would say nature is fair because it is what it is. Like the death and rebirth cycles, like, you know, of like, that's why, you know, cheetahs eat antelopes, and why, you know, we eat, you know, what we eat, or like, you know, why fungus eat the dead, you know, like
Yeah.
it's why everything is eating something, you know, everything is eating something, everything is killing something, you know.
Exactly.
And you know, killing isn't evil, because it is by nature what is part of the process of decomposition and reconstruction and destruction. Like, you know, energy is not, doesn't go away, like it's just reused in that same sense. Like nothing is gone forever,
Right.
just repurposed.
Exactly. So, as an herbalist, have you completely turned away from modern medicine?
Great question. No. And as I would say for most herbalists, like that do, like that's great, you know, but for me, no, because everything has a place. I
Yeah.
don't really rely on I don't rely on modern medicine, but I'm not gonna turn it away when the situation comes up and I need it. Like I'm not gonna be like, in the beginning when I first started going down this path, like I thought I could be that kind of person. And then I realized like, no, I don't want to be that person to like completely shun modern technology, modern medicine. To be honest, think that there's a great way to integrate them together. Um, but I don't shun it away, because if there's a situation that I need it, or when it's needed, then it is needed, especially when I'm working with a client. I need to know, like, if they are taking medications, or if they've had
Yeah.
surgeries or anything like that. Like, that's really important, because if I don't know those things, and I suggest a like a formula or whatever for them, and maybe this herb might contradict their medication, like, that's my responsibility. And if I don't
It could
if I don't
also
have
have
that.
side effects, right?
Right. Yeah. Herbs also have side effects, guys. Just letting y'all know. People don't think they do. You know, like, oh, it's holistic. And I'm like, it's herbs are not holistic, guys. Like, and you're like, oh my God, the herbalist said herbs are not holistic. But yes, herbs are not holistic. Holistic is the practice of holism, of like working with the whole aspect of the herb, like not just, hey, I'm going to give you herbs for your headache, and here you go. Okay, thanks. That's like a nice bill. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye. That's not holistic. Just because you work with herbs does not make you a holistic practitioner. Now, I know some people are gonna like get a little itchy in their pants about that, but I'm gonna say there's allopathic herbalism, which allopathic, for those that don't know, is what most doctors practice, where they're more focused on treating the symptoms and
Yeah.
not the root cause of the situation. Where holism is addressing the whole of the person and the whole of the plant, meaning like all of you, like from physical to mental to emotional to like even spiritual. Like, I know some people are like, oh, but like even spiritual, like
Yeah.
it's holistic. Like the name, right? The name isn't just because you're using a plant. Like, the name in of
Yeah.
itself is holism. So yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
So so what was it like for you the first time you performed in drag?
So okay. As far as drag goes, putting myself in drag was a little bit of, it's just, it takes a lot. It takes a while. Like me just doing makeup in general.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, like, depending on what I'm doing or whatever the look I'm doing, like it can take anywhere from the minimum, I'd say like 30 minutes, maybe, if I'm just doing something really like, quick or whatever. But like an hour, if I give myself a little over like an hour or so, I can do something pretty
Yeah.
decent. And if I'm doing drag, because there's so many components to drag, like putting your, like, get your wig, together, like make sure it's good, like, getting the wig on and secured, and then
Mhm.
putting up, and then like then do the makeup and blending the makeup into the wig, and then get your costume together, and then make sure the lashes are on, like the shoes, everything. Like, it's a whole thing. And especially if you're doing, depending on what kind of look you're doing for your drag, like if it's at a character look, like do you have other components, like, maybe you're doing, like, because some people even can consider like cosplay is like drag, because it's,
Yeah.
you are being a character, and that's what drag is. Like, you're being your persona of character of whatever it is that your drag character is, like, who are they, and that's what it is. So as far as me doing drag, like on stage, um so here's the thing is, I am starting the drag journey, because, to be
Right.
honest, like, I didn't know if I really wanted to do it, because yes, like, by trade, makeup is by trade, like my background.
Yeah.
I was always hesitant to go down that road, because it is so much it's expensive. Drag, like, it's a lot. You have to really love to do it, and I didn't, at the time, wasn't like in love with drag. Like, I love drag and as an art,
Yeah.
etc., but I wasn't doing it. I didn't know if I want to get involved too much in that way until now, recently, because again, my drag right now is more of a curiosity to see where it can go, but also,
Yeah.
and then have fun too. Like, I think that's the big part of drag, is if you're going to do drag, have fun, make sure you're having fun.
Yeah.
But also, like, it is also very like transgressive, because it's a statement. So I'm doing it for that as well, for it to be a statement. And so um I haven't yet done like a big performance. So like, I've
Yeah.
been getting all the, like, I get the wigs, the outfit. My next step is like, I have some shoes I can wear now, but like the outfits, like getting it together. I have a playlist
Yeah.
already, so I've created my playlist. So it's like all the components. Like, I have some of, like, the makeup down is fine. Like, I got the makeup
All right.
down, but like there's a lot of components to drag, and like I want to make sure that I'm not. I want to make sure if I'm gonna go and do, like, I want to do it. Like
Right.
be to the, and again, like I'm gonna continue to learn more things, but I want to feel like I'm gonna go into it and have the basics down. Like I don't want to go in like half-assing it or whatever. So right now, like I am working on getting like a couple more outfits, but I have the songs I'm already gonna do, and I would say probably where we're in May now, so I'd say like close, if not to the end of this month, like I'm gonna try to like make a post of it, and the people that are like close, like
Yeah.
my friends, because they've been asking like, oh my god, when are you gonna do your performance? I'm like, relax, honey, like, I'm gonna do it, but it's just it's not something I can just like run and jump into. Like it's a lot to like put together. And I give it to the drag queens that do it full time. Okay, so like listen, like y'all do it full time, like bow down, because it is not easy. um but again, they do it because they love it. So I'd say soon I'm gonna definitely do like my first like actual like at like one of the close by clubs, like to do my performance. But right now, I did, what I will say is, I don't know if you got to see it on my Instagram page, I did go to the drag march we just
Yeah.
had recently in Tallahassee, for because of everything's going on with
Yeah.
that politically. I went in full drag, so I didn't
Yeah.
perform, but I went from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till like 6 o'clock in the evening in full drag. So, and Missy was
Hmm.
everything, girl. It was,
Yes.
yeah. So I guess it's a start, it's a baby step, but a lot of positive feedback. So it actually kind of like helps a little bit that it's been really supportive in that past. So yeah.
Well, positive feedback. This bitch is barely like done drag, and I've done drag for 8 years, and she already does better makeup than I do. Um,
Oh my God,
but
stop. I
but
mean, like, what were we gonna say?
so okay, so I was gonna tell you my first time because I have
Yes.
sort of a different story than most because I actually started out doing drag in straight bars and
Ooh, okay.
straight places. So I'll probably you may know some of them. So okay, do you know Rogue Pub?
Say that one more time.
Rogue Pub. It's on Curry Ford Road.
I know Curry Ford, but I'm not familiar
Okay,
with that.
so like I can describe it. Rogue Pub. It's like it's kind of near downtown. It's like in that same shopping plaza as the Winn Dixie. That's like right there.
Okay,
On
the
yeah.
the Winn Dixie, by it's on Curry Ford, but it's like going. There's across the street. There's like that Wawa by the Winn Dixie.
Um.
Are you talking about that? There's like
The,
there used to be a Shell's gas station next to like the
there
Winn
there
Dixie.
may be one now. There wasn't one back when I lived there. Like
Oh, true. Yeah, it's probably been a little bit. Yeah, but
yeah, but like that
okay.
was and then Sleeping Moon Cafe in Winter Park. It's not open anymore, but like I used to perform there
Okay.
a lot.
Cool.
And then like so I did different things. And then like cuz my thing was I didn't like I was afraid to perform in front of gay people
Okay.
cuz what I did was so what I did was so different because I would do some covers, but I would mostly do original tracks and like I make electronic music. So it's like you have these like singer songwriters where it's like all these like same acoustic sets over and over and over again, and then you usually have me, especially at Rogue Pub, open the show where like I would just do like 3 electronic tracks in a row. And
Mm.
did everybody love it? No. Did musicians love it? Yes.
Oh, gee.
Because
Sweet.
it's very different. Although there was like the owners liked what I did. Although there was one time where what there was like a week before where I had screamed motherfucker into the microphone at the end of
Hmm.
one of my songs, and I got told not to do that the following week. I'm thinking, girl, I'm not gonna do that again. I already did that last week. I changed my set because I'm
Right.
like I am someone who didn't ever want to do the same set like twice in a row.
Right. Yeah, I think, well, also too, because like I don't know the environment, but if it was like not a queer environment, more than,
Yeah,
it's really strange. Like more than likely they're like, because then they're always like more like family. I don't know if it's like family oriented because they're like, oh, like cursing, but Whatever. And it's like we're faggots. So
but
listen,
but when I
it's big people
did
curse too.
the gay club that I did used to perform at, unfortunately no longer there, was Parliament House.
Yeah, yeah. So cool. I don't
Yeah,
maybe what is your drag? What would remind me again what your drag name was? If
Prince
you said
Electro Diamond.
yes. I don't think I've when did you perform?
So I was never like one of the like weekend people. I used to do like their karaoke night on Thursday nights. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I would like when I would go, it would always be like on the actual like weekends. I think
yeah,
maybe like once or something I went on like a weekday, like I don't remember what it was, but I'd always really go on the weekends, so probably didn't get it. Maybe like in passing, but I never got to unfortunately see your show.
yeah.
But do you
Well,
still oh, you're gonna say.
do what you're asking? Do I still perform? The
Yes.
answer is no,
Okay. Yeah.
and that's it. It's just it's not because I don't want to. It's honestly because I don't live in a city, and like
Okay.
the nearest city to me is West Palm Beach, and West Palm Beach is like an hour away.
Oh, yeah. That's it's a bit of a drive. Yeah. Ooh. To just
So
an
like,
hour away to just perform. Yeah.
yeah, I did
It's
it
like,
for a while. I did it for a while. I don't do it anymore. Um, but I did actually talk about this because there is some drag that goes on here, but like I don't really know like the drag queens well, and like they know who I am, but they don't. I don't know them well enough to like be in the shows. But
okay.
my drag sister, who I actually just interviewed on Friday, said she was thinking about directing some shows, and when she did that, I'm like, well, give a bitch a call. Like,
Right. Let me know.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, also too, just really like once, like I haven't really put myself out there yet in that way, but I feel like once you do, like they all like they'll like start. You know what I mean? Like for you, like once you
yeah,
like do that and you're there, like they'll all come. Like they say, if you build it, they'll come. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like if you build it there, like you build community, you're there often enough, like the people will come, they'll see you, they'll like want to see your performances and you slaying on the stage, sing your song, girl. Do those originals, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
definitely like those tracks are fine, but if you, yeah, I think drag queens that sing like actually sing and like or do
yeah,
like original stuff like that have more than just what I think the basics of drag is. Like I applaud them because
yeah,
like that is the charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent to this.
yes,
Okay, so that is what we in drag, because again, drag is not static. Drag is always, there are guidelines, quote unquote, even then
yeah,
is blurry, but like it's always evolving, it's always changing. Like now, like there was like what one season of Drag Race where we had, I didn't actually see that season, surprise, or maybe if I did, I watched a little bit of it, but I'd only really watch it. Drag Race to me is like football. Like I only really watch it with like my gal pals, like it's like a thing we do,
yeah,
but on like outside of that, I don't really actually actively watch it. But there was one queen that was on what, which is actually I think really says a lot maybe about like Drag Race, because the drag queen identified as a heterosexual guy, male, but he did
oh
drag.
yeah,
I forgot his name, but like, or their name, I don't know. But it just, and I know some people are gonna say different things about, but I mean, like again, like even then, like you think about it, like now, like having bio queens or people that are born assigned
yeah,
female at birth that are doing drag, or like now you have, and then even people back in the day, like even further back when like people coming out as trans doing drag, like which is great.
yeah,
It's all great to me, but it's just like it's just evolved so much and so fast, like over time. Like, um, again, like there's the hoops and hurdles, but soon it'll just be like, I mean, really, anybody can do drag. Like, I'm not gonna gatekeep, but at the same time, like, just know, especially if you're listening and if you are identify as heterosexual, that just know where things come from and just know like, it's like this this drag, like what Rue says, like, like we're all born naked, the rest are drag, which is,
Right.
when that's to say, I understand that. That's why I'm not trying to gatekeep it. I'm not trying to gatekeep drag. I'm not the drag judge or whatever, but that's for Rue. But I was gonna say, like, just kind of like know where things come from, if especially like it's just, like have context of drag started out in for queer people, in the
Right.
community, but has we can share, and it's not this like labeled of like only queer people can do drag, like it's anybody can do, like I mean too, like, yeah, we have bio queens, and we have trans people doing drag, like, so it's just like
Yeah.
anybody, drag kings, like, so it's just there's so much that can go with it. But just making sure that in the groups that it's like, because I know some people are going to be weird about it, but like, it's just know that, like, not like pay your dues, but just like do your research, like know your history, like if you're gonna, especially gonna do drag, like
Right.
know it, especially more like the younger generations, like the younger queens,
Yeah.
like early, really young, like, because not all of them do, but some of them don't know or have context of it, and how drag queens really did pave the way a lot for our community, like trans and
Right.
drag people, especially black trans people, or black trans, or drag like people, like
Yeah.
people of color, like in our community, especially like politically and socially, you know what I mean? And so, you know we need to give it to them, like they, yeah, so, like, Jess.
Well, okay. Also, to your point about me being performing, as I always say, I like this podcast takes a lot. Like you're my first guest this week, but like I have a guest tomorrow and I hopefully have a guest Wednesday. So like your bitch is busy.
Yeah,
Like
she's got allies. It's a lot doing a podcast. Trust me, girl. I know. Like, getting the special guests together, time frames, like what the topics. I know. But tell me.
so I mean and like going back to like as I was telling you before about like booking guests in LA, it's like the roster for my guests in LA is just like so much because it's like when I finally get them, they show up
Yeah, that's good.
because most of them work in Hollywood and they kind of understand how this goes. Like you 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 set a date, you show up. If you're gonna show up late, let a bitch know and like just don't like. I've only so far in LA I've only had one bad experience where I
Mm.
had like somebody where like I literally spoke with them like the day before. It was a drag queen. I spoke with her the day before. I got to day of. I was like confirmed everything. I was literally sitting here in front of my camera or in front of my laptop in drag. I waited 15 minutes, half an hour, never showed up.
Mm. Yeah, communication is important. That's why,
Yeah.
even like for me, I know, like earlier I was a little
Yeah.
behind, but like even if you're behind, like still communicate. Like, it just say like I'm running behind, or
Yeah.
or if they're just not able to make it in general, just say, hey, like, I something came up today, like it whatever, my mom's in the hospital. I don't know, whatever it
Yeah.
was, like, and we let's do rain check or reschedule. At least there's
Yeah.
communication. You know what I mean? At least there's communication, because that happens. We've actually had that happen on our podcast. So like, but communicate is important. Like, just say, hey, like, I can't do
Yeah.
it, or I'm running late. Yeah, it's fine. We'll just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And like, okay, your other point, I was gonna tell you like why I wear sunglasses. Like, I
Yes.
will say, it started as a part of my like stage look, and then like now it's just simply the fact of I don't know how to do eyes. Like because I just incorporated all of this in, I never learned how to do eyes. So I'm
Okay.
here 8 years later, haven't even tried to learn.
It's a lot. That's literally the hardest part of getting into makeup, is doing the eyes. Like, doing my once my eyes are done, my face, it's like boom, like foundation, concealer, contour,
Yeah.
powder, boom, 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 done, 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 out the door. I might like spend a little time like with the contour and the highlight or whatever, but not much. Like my eyes take the longest to do. Then it depends. Like if I'm doing like if I'm have some time on my hands and I really can sit there, yeah, I'm gonna go all out. But I have makeup looks for different things. Like I have like out the door, gotta go to work, whatever. If I have a little bit of time, I can do something really quick or just something like decent where it's like, oh, this is cute, but like not my I'd have more time with.
Yeah.
But yeah, eyes are and also like learning eye shapes. Like there's different eye shapes. And again, like if you're doing drag, the beauty of drag, like not everybody's like, plastic tiara where they can put on some
Yeah.
chapstick and they're good to go. Like, and I love, if you're listening, girl, I love you. But like, but what we're saying is like, you can do like with drag, it's still creative. So you can do like uh however you want, like shape them like Trixie Mattel and like Katya's a little different, but like Trixie's look, like
Yeah.
it's very like cartoonish, but it works for her. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
and it's her drag. Like that's the thing of a drag. So like it's just playing with it and what works, and you can do one look. And also tricks, like same with mine, like Trixie's look, like we've all come, like we started off this one way and then over the years like we've perfected and refined it. So even when you start doing it or whenever you do, like just
Yeah.
know like wherever you are right now with it or wherever you're going to be with it it's going to look different like down the road. So it's going to evolve the more that you do it. It's not going to look the same. And I always feel like it not like looks better, but it is more, over time it becomes more refined. So which is always nice. It's nice to have that.
Which also, to your point of like eyes and like having to know exactly how to do it, I mainly only do drag when I'm on camera, and I can't be looking fucking crazy interviewing somebody. Like I can't. Like
I see that.
because
Yeah.
if I mess up my eyes, I'd be like, bitch, I gotta cancel. Like I'm no.
What I might do, I was actually considering doing like a video of like a live of me, like maybe just only doing like the makeup portion of the drag. So
Right.
that, because I don't know how much time is there. So maybe I'll just do something like that and like
Yeah.
maybe get some little tips or something. And because I would say like I'd help you, but you're not in Florida. So like, or
Wait.
wait, yeah.
Yeah, I
So
am
like,
in Florida. I am in
wait,
Florida.
oh, where in Florida?
I
Because you said
told
you're
you
not.
I'm near West Palm Beach.
Girl. But so wait, West Palm, but that's going, wait,
South.
south. West Palm. I've actually never been. So I know, right? I'm like, but is there like, so there's, you said, but you're around, like, there's not a lot of like city. So like, there's mostly like,
Yeah.
it's more rural, like not rural, but maybe
I
parts of it.
live I live in like I live in a suburb, but
Oh, okay.
it's slowly but surely turning into a city. Like a bunch of people are moving here, and like when I found like I actually interviewed this person. When I found like a gay person who moved here from the Bronx, I'm like, why the fuck did you move here? Like there's literally nothing to do.
It was like, why did you come here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not familiar with that area at all. So I mean, I know I've gone out like Port St. Lucie, like out that way, but like
Well, wait, you've been near Port St. Lucie? I'm literally
I
like the next. I've been like I'm the next town over from Port St.
I've
Lucie.
driven through it, but like not like I've not like spent a
Yeah.
lot of time
No.
there, but I've driven past like through it.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing like to my imagination, I can imagine it being like, do you remember Courage the Cowardly Dog?
Kind of. Yeah.
Oh, it was for those are like 90s kids, but like yeah, it just reminded me of like Courage the Cowardly Dog, where like they just like literally live in the middle of like there's like nothing, it's like a house, and
Yeah.
then like that's it. That's what I'm like imagine in my head. I just imagine it, but I'm sure
No.
there's definitely, you said it's coming upcoming, but
It's not that bad.
no.
If it was like that bad, I'd literally cry myself to sleep every
You're
night.
like, I
Like I
can't, you just come save me. I love that. But yeah, yeah, I mean, if ever like in Orlando, like listen, we can help each other
I
out. Help a gal pal. I'll help you with your
yeah.
eyes and yeah.
Of
What do you
course.
think?
Well, here's the thing. Like I'm telling you this now. I like you. I would come visit you in Orlando. I haven't been back. I haven't been back since like before COVID. Like,
You're not missing much, but
well, like
but
the
yeah.
last time I went back was I. No, actually, yeah, I do remember. The last time I went, I actually stayed at the Parliament House. Like,
Hmm.
it was like, I think it
Oh,
was
it's been a
like,
while then, girl.
yeah. Well, I said before COVID. Like, that place shut
Yeah.
down during
Was it?
COVID. Like,
Yeah, it was like right then. But okay. So, sorry, I interrupt
yeah.
you.
Yeah, no, you're good. So it's like, I actually am so glad that I got that experience to, like, stay there, because it's like, did I get much sleep? No, but was it nice to, like, be able to, like, say I stayed in that hotel? It was great. I fucking love that place.
Mhm.
I loved it because, as I always viewed it, that was the place where no rules existed.
Yeah, there were guidelines,
But
but ideally, like there's a lot of leeway. There's a lot of leeway there. A lot of leeway.
well, here's the proof that there's no rules. And I had this happen to me multiple times when I was in drag. I used to get my dick sucked at the beach in the
Oh, at the
back.
little
Yeah.
that little beach in the yes,
Yes.
that was pretty much. To my knowledge, there's a couple. There were other things going on there, but that was also probably one of the things that was also going on over there. So yeah, and then there's like the bear bar, that I remember the bear bar, and then there was like
Yeah. Yeah.
the little shop that was next to it. It had a lot of like little Parliament House had a lot. I mean, a lot of memories, like prides. Like there was a lot of
Yeah.
that pool, girl. That pool, they put so much chlorine in it. Never again. I mean, well, it's obviously never again. But like,
Yeah.
like I was like a merman for 1 year. Like I had my tail, and there's pictures later on. I could read a show, but I
Word.
had my tail on and like swimming and trying to be, they paid me for the event too. It was like a little event they had, and but I tried to open my eyes in the water. It was never. I'd rather open my eyes in the ocean than in that pool. Like, 'cause I could not. It literally, I think the first I opened them, it like burned like hell. Like it was ridiculous. I was like, never. I almost for the rest of it, I was like, they wanted me to, like swim. I was like, oh, swim, but I like can't really see where I'm going because I can't open my eyes. And it's like, again, like they like, do you want water with your chlorine or do you want like chlorine? Like they just wanted chlorine, just chlorine only. So that's how chlorinated it was. There was no filter. But I guess a lot of times, like people would always complain because like people would have sex in the pool, and
That's
then
exactly why they probably had a ton of chlorine, is because people
yeah,
were fucking in the pool.
that's what it was. Yeah.
'Cause-
I'm like, well, that's yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
didn't have that experience. Got fucked in the parking lot once, but like,
That was a big parking lot. That because they would go. There was the parking lot, and then there was like the extended
the
where they
field,
like go into the
yeah, the
hills.
field. That's where I got
The
fucked in. I
field.
didn't get fucked in
There's
the
the field.
actual
Yeah.
parking lot. I got fucked in.
That was a little more scandalous back there because it was
Yeah,
dark and like there wasn't really many people that parked there, so that's why
yeah.
the thing to go. Yes.
That
Yeah,
was
we love
actually one
that.
of the times when I was visiting
Mm.
there, and my hotel was like too far away, and he's like, this guy like got turned on by the fact that I was in drag, and like
There is
I was
that.
like
Yeah.
I was like wearing a thong because I always do because I'm a fucking slut. Um,
As you should be. As you should.
but he's
Word.
I'm like yeah, and then like he like fucked me in the back of his car, but like
Like, oh yes. I'm just an innocent drag queen. So like, no, I'm not. Like as all he knew. Right? I don't know. Yeah,
right.
I love that. There's so many memories, so many memories. Man, that was it. At least we could say like, no, it's not there no more, but at least we
Yeah,
can be like, we're the OGs of um the P House. Yeah, lots of
yeah.
the food. Oh
Well,
man,
it's allegedly. I say allegedly because I don't think it's ever gonna happen. They're allegedly opening it downtown, which
yeah, I don't. If they were, girl, it's been forever. They did a little. I think it was like a Pride. either recently or like last year. It was like either last year or the year before, but I think it was last year because I think it was like supposed to be recently that they did like a pop up, like downtown.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's what they were. Either the pop up was the pop up, or if they were doing it to just kind of feel it out and see, or if they're actually still going to do it. Because I know they keep hearing and circulating around Orlando, like it keeps circulating, and I'm like, it keeps changing all the time too. It's like telephone, the
Yeah.
grapevine. But I don't really know. I could never give anybody like actual factual like what's going on with it.
I
But
don't think anybody knows. Like,
no,
except for the people who are like paying the money, like
yeah.
for the construction. They're the only ones who do know.
I mean, it's even if they did do it, it's never gonna be what it was, of course,
Yeah.
exactly. But you know, it's just because it was so like such a big place too. Like everybody went there because there was enough space for a lot of people. Excuse me, a lot of people.
Yeah.
But downtown is so already congested anyways. Like the parking is so challenging. Like, and then you want to like try to
Mm,
reestablish P House down there. Girl, I don't know about date. Like,
and
you
and it had free parking. That was the only reason
it
I
did.
went to the Parliament House. Like the reason that the whole time I lived in Orlando, though they had plenty of guests that I want to go to, the reason I never went to Southern Nights is because they force you to pay to park.
Yeah, and then they have the VIP or yeah, the VIP or the valet, which I don't know, it's probably not super expensive, but usually if you go to Southern though, there's a couple. They used to have this church down the street from Southern. It wasn't too far. So it was close by and like used to be able to like park there and you don't have to pay anything.
Yeah,
But now it's I don't know if they took down the whole church. It's been a little bit since I've been over there, but the last I was over there, when I saw that they closed out that parking lot, so you can't park there now. So now there's only like a few spots to park, and it just, especially when they have like a queen from RuPaul or whatever, or anyone come
yeah,
over, like it's like pretty much first come first serve. Like you might as well just Uber there because you're not gonna
yeah,
find parking. Or if you know someone that lives around there, like
yeah.
park at their house, but you're not going to find parking, I guarantee. You have to come really early. So, but yeah, I mean, all our little queer spots are coming smaller and smaller because Pulse is not around, P House is not
Yeah.
around. Also, what was the other one? Oh, Stonewall is gone now. So pretty much all we have left as far as like known to be queer is Southern here and Savoy. Sundays.
And well, I don't know if it's still open. Is Barcodes still open?
Yes, barcodes is still a
Uh,
thing. Yeah, it's
yeah.
still a thing. Yes, she's still there. She's still around, girl. I don't think she ain't going anywhere. At least anytime soon. But
Well, that
yeah.
that was a place I only went to once. I didn't even like go there to
Um,
to like go. I think I went there to like buy poppers from some guy that I was like hooking up with.
mhm,
And like that was when weirdly enough I ran into we'll get into my dating history a little bit in a little bit. I have a question for you about that too. So it's like I ran into my ex's boss. We had just broken up like not that long ago. And he told me about how my ex and he's like, "Oh, you like your ex has HIV because he's with somebody who's HIV positive." And I'm thinking I'm like, dodged a bullet there.
oh, bless his heart. But yeah, I feel that like that's yeah, like the community. I mean, there's so much to that. But yeah, what were you gonna say? You said something about you were asking me a question about my, my
Um
my relationship or something or
well yeah, I have that question, but that's gonna be my next question after this one I'm asking. So
okay.
okay, so who's okay? I'm gonna ask it this way because you said this. Who's an artist you would love to perform in drag?
An artist I would love to like perform with or to
No, no,
like
like
do
perform
like
their song.
perform their song. There's so many. To be honest, I kind of had this idea of like doing drag like where because I want to do, I got bought the wigs, everything. So like do
Yeah.
very more like kind of not glam, but like my drag is kind of always gonna be more like on like the spooky side, anyways.
Yeah.
Um, but or the quote unquote darker side. But I would say like I want to do some like I like Rob Zombie and like some of like there's like another band so kind of like Blue Stolly, which is another band, but it's like I kind of want to shake up things a little bit with it where it's like you wouldn't expect it because you would think like, oh, if I'm going to come out quote unquote looking a certain way, then you're going to probably
Oh,
hear not like Britney Spears, but you're going to hear like
yeah.
Rihanna or whatever. But then you're going to get like, like Rob Zombie, like, wait, what? Like, that's so confusing. But at the same time, like, I feel like I'm going to try it out, but I feel like I can pull it off. Like, I want to kind of do like I look this way, but like you're gonna get like the artists like completely different. Like I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna play with it first and see how it goes out. But if we're gonna stick to like a traditional like a look, like a thing, like um, I've been really feeling like Ava Max recently. Like a couple of some
Oh,
songs with Ava Max.
okay.
Yeah, I love her.
I like her
And
too.
yeah, and then Slater is also I like Slater. She does have a couple of songs of her. And Max Slater. There's a few. There's a
Well,
song called. Oh, what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say too, like doing that like darker sort of stuff. One that I don't know if you like him. I like him a lot. Marilyn Manson.
Okay. There is a song. I don't know a lot of his. I don't know. Like I've never been like a avid person for him or them, but
Yeah.
there's a couple songs by him that I probably maybe would try out. Cupid. Cupid gun. That song. I forgot what it's called. Cupid has a gun or is Cupid something. That one I forget. And then they've done. He did like a remake of what's the song by? It's like an older song, but in like the 80s or maybe it was like
Sweet
90s.
Dreams.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to do that one, like the remake of it. So I probably
Yeah.
do that one and see. And then Cupid has a gun or something like that. I think that's the song. I would do that song.
Like the song I've done, like I haven't done Marilyn Manson much, but the song like I performed it, I've done the Dope Show, which is one of his more like industrial songs that I like really
Mm.
like.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. We like some of that. I like, like definitely Rob Zombie, Blue Stolly. I have like a playlist. So like my playlist is like a mix of like what I think. And again, like when I create the playlist or when I'm creating these, like I have to think like who is Anoxia? You know what I mean? Like who is she? Like or
Yeah.
who are they? Or who are they? Like,
Yeah.
and I think she's not much or the Anoxia is not much different than me because again is an extension of me, but at the
Right.
same time, like parts of me that I, don't get to express in certain ways that Anoxia is going to do it. So like,
Right.
um, very Anoxia, I would say, is very like, you know, she could be like very pretty, like glam, like very like giving like puns and like very just like slaying, but also has no problem like being really like not like well, I guess like slutty, but like also very like bimbo, like but also like kind of dark in the essence of like her like I said, like doing some like songs that are maybe a little bit more like aggressive or kind of like you said, like kind of more intense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and like just that, like all of those, like those are definitely some of the aspects I would say of her. Like she has her sides to her. She can charm, with her magic, I guess you could say. Her
Right.
aesthetic, her beauty, very much like the plants that I named her from. But yeah, she has those qualities of her. So yeah.
So, okay. Now to this question of what's well, I mean, you've only lived in Orlando, so I'm gonna take off this part. So, what's your dating life been like?
My dating life. It's well, recently, I mean, there have been prospects, quote unquote, but it's also like I don't know. I'm just like I go through different phases in my life, like in general, but just I'm at this part of my life where right now, like I'm open to possibilities and I have like ideals of what I would love to have, but I kind of just at this point like take things as they come, but ideally, I am getting older, so like I would love to like I don't think it's possible anymore because I don't think people do it, and especially in our community, like this thing called dating. So like, even when you even use the word dating, like to me, when I think of dating, I think of like going on a date, but that doesn't mean
Yeah.
like going on a date, but then it doesn't mean like, oh my God, we're boyfriends. I'm like, no, we just go on one date, honey. Like it's just one date. It
What?
doesn't scandalous,
No, no, no,
girl.
no, 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 no. What I'm saying is, we go on one date. We're boyfriends. Like that ain't the version of what I think of when dating. I feel like when most people in our community consider dating, it's like they go out to dinner and then they fuck after, and then like that's their
True.
version of dating.
Yeah, that is what it is. I think that used to be the idea back when some people believe that, but no, yeah, literally dating is like going to dinner, if even dinner is even the thing. They say going to dinner, and it's pretty much just like finding somewhere, going somewhere and to fuck, and then that's it. Okay, nice to see you. Bye. But I think a lot of times, like, that this can kind of go into a lot of what we were talking about previously, like shadow work, etc. But
Yeah,
again, like, don't get me wrong, like everybody, they have their own ulterior motives. They, it is what it is, right? But um I would love, like, it's been a while since I feel like I've like it's been now I'd say over a year. It's like a year and a half now since I like been in a relationship with someone.
yeah,
So to be honest, like having that experience again, like it I've had people in my life that I know well enough that I would say I definitely have friends with benefits for sure. And when I mean friends with benefits,
ah,
I actually mean friends with benefits. I don't mean friends with benefits, but I just met you like a couple days ago or something. Like I actually have people in my life that I know well
no,
enough to say like friends with benefits
no,
and
girl, I have
actually
one
friends
too.
with benefits. Yeah. So, but to me, how I really look at that is like I know, like, we know each other. Like, we don't have the
Hmm.
label. We don't have like labels. We're not like dating or whatever, like those things. But some of the things that I feel like I really would love to have in like a quote unquote relationship, like with
Yeah,
them, I feel like I'm able to get those things. So, like, and I feel like it's also like until and whenever, if that happens, like I get into that point where someone is also interested enough to and crazy enough to go down that path with me, I feel like that is kind of like my safe zone where I feel like I know them, and like and I don't know, I mean, even then, like friends with benefits could even turn into something more, because again, like it's all about like getting to know the person. If you know them well, and not would know them well enough, but you spend more time with them, like
yeah.
that could evolve, and I think it wouldn't be out of the left field if it did, but you know other than that, like I definitely would say, at least I feel more comfortable knowing like who I'm with, especially sexually. Like if I don't know, like then I don't. And also, I kind of veer more on the demisexual spectrum. So it's sort of like where there's ace and then there's demi and then there's like kind of in between. And I'd say I'm in between. I'm definitely not like fully into the demisexual like pool. Like I've done like whatever, like hookups or whatever in the past, but I find it very difficult to really connect with the person because it's mostly just like fuck and go, like, all right, bye, like, see you later. And it's like,
Yeah.
all right, later, see you. Where I need a little bit more than that because if not, I really just sometimes just don't perform. I'm just like, all right, well, I could have just stayed home at this point and just like with my hand or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, we all need that, like, I feel like the interaction, but I think some queer people and just in general, they are afraid to get too close because then they're gonna get hurt or whatever it is, or like, I don't know. So they prefer to keep like a distance, you know, and I get it, but you know, at some point, like, shadow work, the thing that they're running away from, or if, and especially, I don't know if they don't want, if they're like, I just don't want relationships in general, like, that's
Yeah.
fine, like, you don't want them. But if you're someone that's like, oh yeah, I'm open to it, yeah, 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 but then you're not, and I'm like, so then just say that you're not open to like dating then, and that's fine, you know. Um, so I don't know. It's just hard to find, and like the dating pools and just in general are like smaller, and they're not even pools anymore, but they're like puddles at this point. So like it's like the dating puddles are like small, and even then, like, for someone to actually like really want to get to know you, like, it's even smaller, like, or even care to even like fathom the idea of caring to get to know you is even smaller. So mostly, honestly, there's a few diamonds in the rough, but it's typically more of the older generations that still kind of carry on a lot of that, like, that type of mentality. Like the younger generation, like
Yeah.
most of the younger generations don't, or like our generation, like maybe a little bit before ours, but like they just, this is not a thing. It's more like the like older like people that are like still like, oh, like, I'll open the door for you, or like, you know, I'll take you to
Right.
dinner, like, that's nice. Like, what do you like to do? Like, what is it that you like, you know, like, I like this, like, pretty much what we're doing here, like interviewing, but like just not, but not on an interview. Like, we're not being interviewed, but just getting to know the
Yeah.
person. Like, they don't, it's either that or they're on their phone at dinner. And I'm
Right.
like, I'm gonna get Matt to go. Bye. I'm like, if you want to go on a date, like, let's go on a date. But if you want to sit there on your phone, you just said, let's this is not a date. Let's just, we're hanging out, whatever. Like, you know. So, and even then, we're not really hanging out because you're on your phone.
Okay.
But
So
tell me,
I
girl.
will I will say, because of course I'm going to answer this question of, so my dating in Orlando.
Tell me.
I was in one relationship with a black guy who's actually now a girl.
Mhm.
Kind of the reason we broke up. So
Mhm.
that was a year. Then right after I broke up with her, I went out with a rednecky white guy for a month, which mistake. And then pretty much after that, it was just me fucking a bunch of black and Latino guys. Because, yeah, bitch got a type. Well,
She
actually,
said, "That's, I like what I like, girl. That's what I like."
well, it's
Everybody got
not.
everybody got a type.
It's my joke is I fuck white guys twice a year. I call it community service, but like,
This is my charity. Like, I'm just giving a little charity back. You know, it's got to be like, you know, gotta give a love. Gotta get a little love in some, you know, in these places. Gotta give a little bit. You know, don't want to make them feel left out.
but also you got to figure. Well, I told you this before we were on the podcast. Like, I told you what area I'm from. White guys were scared to come into my neighborhood. So what's around me? Black guys.
Yeah, I mean the
And
environment.
yeah, and that's because I was old when I first had sex, because most gay people are like, I was 15 the first time I got fucked. I was 23. Like,
Yeah, I was like, wait, you were old. I'm like, wait, how old are you? I'm like, but in gay years,
well,
yeah, definitely, yeah.
first of all, I hate that you say you're old. I'm not that much younger than you. Like,
I am old. I'm
no,
30. Two.
I know how old you are. I know I'm not that much younger than you. I'm 28. Relax. Like,
I'm older. I have a cane. My cane.
well,
My wheel.
actually,
This is my wheelchair.
not even that. I turn 29 next month. So like,
Enjoy it and
yeah.
enjoy your 20s. Like people want to rush. I'm like, don't rush, girl. Just enjoy it. Like because it only comes once. So at least as far as we know. So yeah.
Well, it's also like, as I had this conversation with somebody, it's like we, especially if you're like older when you get out, because some of us come out so late. The 20s is very much our teen years, and then like the 30s is pretty much our 20s. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, I theoretically don't have to be responsible till I'm 40. So like, I'm fine with that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like um everybody comes in different places with it, like I've had my relationships and I've had my in-betweens, but I tend to find like I don't know, like I would love to have like it's gonna sound really cheesy and corny, but like I would love to have like like your not best friend because you can have many best friends, but I gonna
Yeah.
have to like, your best friend that you could say like, oh, like that you like marry or like spend most if not the
Aw.
rest of your life with. Yeah, it's very cheesy, corny, but
But
like
that's
it's kind of
sweet.
that like and even then like here's the thing is I even feel like I'm evolving a little more uh that I would rather like build a foundation with whomever it might be, like build like a good while like together. And then like listen, like if they I mean, I don't really feel like I would like personally seek it, but if they felt that they wanted to like seek other things or like, do like open or what I don't know, whatever in that way play or whatever, like I'd be like, yeah, like we have a really like good communication set of skills
Yeah.
and we trust each other, like we've done a lot of the work previously together, so at this point like there's that trust and that knowing like what if we go down this path, like where this is going, and we have communication on like it is us, but like if something comes up we talk about it, there's no hiding, like
Yeah.
there wouldn't be no need to hide anything. So yeah, I just feel like that is that's where I would go, like and be open to that. So yeah, I don't know, like I never thought about that before, like I thought I would ever be open to something like that, but I'm like nowadays like most of the gays are already um you know, they're already like, we're already open or whatever, and we play. I'm like, that's fine. Like, I have seen really healthy examples of that, and I've also seen non-healthy examples of that. So, and to me, I feel like you're gonna have to build a foundation first, solid with someone, and like really spend that time with them, get to know them, they get to know you, they know the things you do like and don't like, and the ins and outs, and that takes time, but I think like at a certain point, then there's that like, okay, how are we growing together, you know what I mean, how are we going together, like do we want to explore other things, like do you want, if not, then this is great what we're doing, and if you do, then we've done most of the work to do this, and we have a communication skill that making sure we're not breaking any agreements that we agreed, and if we are going to break them, we're going to do it together, as far as like
Yeah.
communicate first and then shift the agreements. But obviously that'd be like quote unquote like cheating, but yeah, I don't know, I just think the more open and transparent and communicative that you can be with your partner,
Yeah.
the better off you are going to be in your relationships down the long run. But if you hide things or you don't say things to them, then that's what makes all of the drama, or like why they, cheat or whatever. And it's like, just like, if you want to do things with other people, just tell them. Like, I know you're like, but it's gonna hurt them. Like, no, it's not actually. What's
Yeah.
gonna hurt them is you doing what you're gonna about to do. So so just tell like the person that you're with, like, say, hey, like, this is something I want to explore, I want to talk to you about, like, and if it comes out at the end of the day, like, if it comes down to it and they're really like not about it and you're really for it, then at least like where you stand, and you can go respectfully your separate ways, like, and like it's not like you did it, it's like, this is something, like, maybe it's something I want to try, and I know that you're not for it, and I really want to, like, this is something that really means a lot to me, and I know you're not for it, and I know there's no, obviously not say convincing you otherwise, but it's no that, so maybe we go our separate ways. And I know that's not easy to say, and that might hurt for a little bit, but at least you didn't go down that road, And even if you did, that's fine too. Like, work through that, heal through that process. Whatever happened, that broke the agreements, but there are other ways. And so having that strong communication with your partners is super important. Being vulnerable and just telling them what you need. Tell them, and also not every partner is going to meet all your needs. So that could be a part of it too.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So I know we got to wrap this up soon. So I got two more questions.
Sweet.
Okay. So what is your relationship to drugs and alcohol?
Perfect. My relationship to drugs and alcohol. So me, I have different definitions of what drugs are. A drug to me is what I would say, like, I go to like the drugstore or get some pills or whatever, like something that's man-made.
Yeah.
Now, now cannabis or mushrooms or anything that's like a plant medicine is not a drug, because of the fact that what makes a drug an actual drug, right? And so, though I know by like society and political, like, whatever, like, they just throw it all in the same cauldron and call it a drug, and like, it's not.
Right.
But for lack of better terms, like, I kind of stick more towards, like, if I'm gonna partake in something that's going to be altering my state of mind, state of consciousness, I'm gonna, like, I smoke cannabis, and then
Yeah.
once in a while, like, I'll work with mushrooms, mostly ideally for like an intentional for healing and for being in spaces that I like need it. And then also, so like, then alcohol, like my relationship specifically with alcohol, um I mean, I make herbal tinctures and that uses
Yeah.
alcohol, but as far as that goes, like, yeah, I really only drink socially. Like, that's my only thing, is I never, if I, like I said, if I buy alcohol, like, to
Yeah.
drink, like, at my house, like, I bring home, it's usually only for like when I make, either for my offerings for certain spirits that I work
Yeah.
with, that for libations, or I'm making an herbal tincture with it. But I really typically don't buy like cans of beers and bring it home, or like bottles in, or anything like that. It's only
Yeah.
really social, or like some sort of like holiday or some event. So it's very casual. And but that still doesn't mean, like, I've learned over the years as I've gotten older, like, I've had my, hold the hair back over the toilet while I'm like puking
Yeah.
my guts out, and like, so I've done it, and it's not fun. For all I've been there. I done it a couple times, but I typically at this point, like, I've learned like where my limit is, because like the next day
Right.
is the worst. So I typically, like, socially, like, I know where my limits are, when it comes to that. So I just kind of moderate, like, okay, I'll have a cider or like a seltzer, or maybe I'll have like a
Yeah.
shot with them. And I'm like, all right, like, I know when I know, like, in my body tells me, like, all right, you're good here. Like, all right, I'm good here. And I can still have fun. So to me, it's like I can indulge in some of the fun and the uh, primalness of that, but I know too much of anything, like the devil in that sense, is destructive and not beneficial, and I've seen it. And so I dance with the devil in the way that I know that I dance with the devil, but I know
Right.
like, where I know that I'm doing it, but I know that I'm doing it within the quote unquote responsible way, because it's responsible for me to know like how much I'm gonna have.
Right. Okay. So now she's gonna go briefly
Do it,
into
girl.
me. Alcohol never really had anything bad with that. I'm very much like a social drinker, like you said. I had like one night where I almost got a DUI, and it was like I luckily like my dad was able to pick me up, so like I got saved from that. In terms of
Mhm.
like what the traditional sense of drugs are like in people's traditional stuff you're talking about, like the cannabis and all that, never really did any of that. The only thing I abused was okay, so just a little bit medically about me. I have bone spurs in the heels of both of my feet.
Yeah.
So like they're not as bad now, but there was a point when I was working a job where I was on my feet 8 hours a day, where I was in a lot of pain and I didn't have health insurance. So like I had to kind of like suffer through it. And like what I used to abuse was ibuprofen. I used to take when I totaled it up, I used to take like 18 to 24 ibuprofen a day.
Girl,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
And
I
yeah, and
mean, I'm, yeah,
I did it for 4 months. Like
that's intense. Their
yeah.
body, your liver was like, "Ooh, I can't do this no more. Stop." But at the same time, it's intense because you had to do with what you could with what you had. Like
Yeah.
bone spurs is like no. I mean, I've never experienced it, so I don't know. But I'm sure it's really uncomfortable, probably painful, and you're
Hmm.
on top of the job. You have a job that maybe like you're standing on your feet hours on end,
Yeah.
literally like you're standing on pins and needles essentially. So and that does not
Ooh.
sound fun. So doing the best with like you're like, okay, well, ibuprofen, like it's not really solving the problem, but it's
It's
gonna
masking it.
help. Yeah, it's gonna help for right now. Right.
Yeah. Which the turns out like the great solution of what made that better was now working a job where am in front of a computer all day, which I don't mind in truth, as I say, if this takes off, bye bye any job I have.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
Rather do
Definitely.
this. And then to my final question.
Yes.
What's the biggest misconception about you?
Oh, misconception about me. Mm. Oh wow. Um. Not everybody that I think most people that know me, but I think a lot of people just and to some degree they're not completely wrong, but I think a lot of people like, oh, little Justin, like little innocent Justin. I'm like, definitely not that. Like, you know, I I don't know, I think it's just very much like how sometimes it's how I want people to think about me too. It's like I want you to see this thing of me, and I'm not saying that thing about me isn't true, but it's I'm only showing you what I want you to see. So it's like I only
Right.
show you you what I want you to see, like part of me, right? But you're not gonna get all the parts of me. So I only
Right.
show what I showed for certain reasons, and I think but then they think that that's all of me, and I'm like wrong.
Right.
Um, but again, they don't know me, so then that's part of that. So but I don't know if that was like a misconception, like I guess that was helpful like in some degree, but misconception like about me, I guess like my craft in
Yeah.
as far as being like a witch, like yeah, like there are aspects of it that are um darker for sure because it's not love and light. I mean there are aspects that are like incorporating aspects of what I would consider love or like working through some of like the challenging parts of it, but it's not this like toxic positivity, love and light type of thing. Like it's very much like, no, my nail, like there's dirt underneath my nails right now. Like,
Right.
we're getting dirty. Um and that's what it is. Like there it is. It's not saying that I'm not afraid. Like I'm not trying to be like edgelord and like, oh, I'm not afraid, because like I've through my craft, like I've done a couple of things that have brought me like sweaty like palms, and I never sweat. My palms never sweat, but like I'm like, we're
Yeah.
in it, girl. We're in it, girl, and do it. And I had a moment, and I'm like, okay, breathe. Okay, you're like, oh, in it, right? Do boom, and I'm in it, and I do it, and I'm like, great, I did it. Whatever it was, right? But regardless, like that fear and like pushing through essentially that fear of the darker stuff, but I think a lot of people just associate because of media and movies and all the things that people think what a witch is or what witchcraft is, and like it's like
Yeah.
there, or what even like the devil, like etc., or like the witch's devil, or like etc. Like it's not what all they think is. Like there's so much more to it. There's so much nuance to it. There's so much, like it's not just like this bad thing or what they think is bad. And then it's there, and there's a lot of like flipping around there and like convolutedness and like what they think is this like evil thing. And I'm like, well, we talked about like earlier, we can go there if you
Yeah.
want to talk about evil, but it's like it's only evil because like true freedom is what is promised if you're going to go down this path. But people think freedom is this like bright sunny thing, and I'm like, it can be, but it's also like lonely, and it's also like, I mean, there are parts of it that are dark, and you aren't going to be liked, and you are going to be shunned, and you are going to be laughed at, and people are going to make fun of you, and like, it's not, or you might not be the most well popular person, because it's not about being popular, it's about being you, it's about going down this path and really doing that work, that journeying, that discovery of the self as you keep going and as it's evolving, and like breaking down and reconstructing, and really seeing like some of the things that we hold on to that are not really part of our beliefs anymore, who we are, and especially as a witch, like, and uh you know people like, oh my god, aren't you afraid, like it's like talking about like doing curse work and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it's something I said I don't do all the time, but then people have this like misconception, like, "Ooh, I'm doing curses all the time. Like, watch out!" Like, or Justin's just like scary, and in a way, to be honest with you, like that fear that witches have, like that people ascribe to them, like there's power to that, because to be honest, like you're either feared or you're loved, or both,
Yeah.
like respected, or like I'd say both would be like respected. Like I fear you because I know what you can do, but I love you at the same time. And I like that, it's like, because there's power in that. And like, like I said, like witches are like a rose. Like, we have the ability to heal, and like, the softness of the petals, and the sweetness of it, and like the ability to like heal ailments, etc., of whatever it might be, or do working in certain ways. But don't get me wrong, like if it comes the other way and you are trying to come for them or me or whatever, like those thorns are there, girl, and they're there to protect. And we're not afraid of them. And a true witch is not afraid of either or. So, meaning like getting to that point where you might be afraid at first of doing something that you're not used to, but then once you get your feet wet, and once you actually like start doing that work, and like actually doing like your first hex or whatever it is, like do it, I mean, like whatever it is, like do it for the sake of the fact that that it's gonna serve you in the way that it's not just you, but maybe like that friend or someone that's like, being harassed at work or whatever it is. Like do it just because the fact that once and you're like, oh, like this is my power, right? And you're like, okay, great, now you got a taste of your power. That's kind of where it can kind of go from there. It's like, now you have a taste of it, how far are you going to go with it, and again,
Right.
I'm not here to tell anybody otherwise, but I think, again, like you've done it, you know what it's like. There's more opportunities, but for me, I'm like, I don't need to be slinging them right and left, but if it's there, it's there. But as far as like misconception goes, like, I think those probably hit that, and um I think that's as far as I can think of, like, because my craft, like, people like perceive it one way, and it's like not what it actually is, and
Yeah.
assuming a misconception would be connected to like they assume what it is, and I'm like, no, it's not these things. It is some of those things, but it's not that is not the whole picture. You
They
have like a
assume
little fraction of it. What are you gonna say?
they assume you're hocus pocus, basically. Like,
Right. Or like I had someone like say, "Oh, do magic now," and I'm like, "What? I'm not a fucking magician." Like, I mean, I could learn some street magic. It's great.
do
Like, what do you
magic
think
now?
right
Like, what
now?
the
Like, he's
fuck
like,
kind
"Show
of
me, show
thing?
me," and I was like, "Oh, this is so sweet. You're so cute." Like, and even if even then, like, even if that was the case, even if I wanted to, like, why do I have to show you
Right.
to prove to who? I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Not no one needs to prove anything. Like, you do what you do, and you do it when you do it, and there's no you don't need this is not like this is not a talent show. This is not like, I don't need anyone to tell me, oh, do it, just show me. I'm like, no, girl. Like, I mean, you can look at my Instagram. I have a couple things on there that I've already done that's there,
Yeah.
and a lot of it's for me, but like I have a few people, have friends, people I know. um but this isn't like you said, like hocus pocus. Like, it's not quite to that extent. And then they're like, well, then you can't do magic. I'm like, you're delusional. It's drag delusion for you, girl.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know if that was that helpful or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's
Work. So,
misconception. But yeah.
well, I'll just do mine quickly. The one thing that I always say, like, based on some of my interviews, I have a tendency to, like, sometimes come off shadier than what I've actually am. And it's not like, a lot of times it's not intentional. It's like I will, like, write something or I will say something, and I think that it's like, it sounds nicer in my head than when I actually say it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't do you maybe don't have like a filter, or like,
No,
or maybe like, or
no, I don't have a filter. That's why, like,
I
when
love that.
I like literally have to keep like focus. That's why, like, some people like love being around kids. I hate being around kids, and I don't talk much because I feel like I'm gonna say something that's inappropriate, and somebody's gonna say like, oh, you shouldn't have said that." I'm like, well, I'm just being honest.
I said what I said is what I said. So
like, like Santa Claus
there's an
isn't real,
answer.
kids. Fucking get over it.
You just broke all their illusions. The whole world is crashing down. The tower card has activated, and now they are having an existential crisis in their life.
Anyway,
Anyways, yeah, maybe he is
with
real. We're gonna say
with right. With that being said, as I close this up, first of all, Pisces, love you.
things, boo.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the one thing that, as I close this up, the one thing is that I feel like why I get along with Pisces so well is because I have Pisces in my chart. Like,
Okay, like,
even though I am like a Cancer primarily, I think my rising sign is a Pisces.
okay.
Maybe it's like rising or falling, one of them.
It's in her phone. It's in the
Yeah,
Gatorade, girl. It's in the microwave. Mercury, she's there. She's messing with me now. But no, my like, it's actually funny you said that. My yeah, my solar sign, my sun solar return sign is in Pisces, for those that are listening, obviously. But my rising or my ascendant is in Cancer. So
yeah,
technically, how most people, that's why I also have for those that can't see, I have a crab on my hand. But yeah, like, so that's how I usually come across, is like more Cancerian. But because Cancer and Pisces, they're both water signs, so like
yeah,
there's a little difference there, but they're very similar. But I would say like it's where my Aries and my moon in Aries comes in,
yeah,
and that's when I get really passionate and really heated. But anyways, and uh so because you said that yours was, but if you said yours was in Pisces, then that might make sense. Then
yeah.
why the flow is flowing.
Right. And with that being said, this is Gay Out the City. I'm your host, Prince Electro Diamond, and I hope you've enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.